Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap, cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think, cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his mind. His mind.
So, thank you for joining us again. This week we've got a little bit of a different setup because there's no Wigan game to actually review. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the finals that were played and the Saints Huddersfield game in our first little section. We're then going to have a review of the season so far and how it's looking for the rest of the year, and then follow it off with a little bit of the NRL and our predictions for the next round of Super League. I'm joined by Matty and Lewis. How have you been, lads?
Yeah, good to be back as a three.
I'm good, yeah. Just missed the last couple. Was away on my holidays, my summer holidays, but yeah, it's good to be back. Obviously, always a pleasure with you lads. Ready to talk some rugby league.
See, it must be difficult for you because you go away and you can't go out in the sun. With how quick you burn.
Because I'm part ginger, so I
I
tend to go
burned-
very pink and squashy.
I burned at the Oval on Friday. That was really unusual for me. I never burned, but I was right in the sun all day watching cricket.
Eagles Spain, I sit inside.
I got Poland and I've sitting.
Yeah. The weather's not your best friend, is it?
It's not. No, I mean it is.
You get
Cloudy
burned at
today,
Tottenham?
so I've got to put.
Oh, you did
some
get
sun
burned
cream
at
on.
Tottenham? Burnt at
I think I probably did get burnt at.
You just
Tottenham,
took
yeah,
the blame away from him because you wore that pink shirt, Tom. That's why you didn't look burned.
Yeah, exactly. I did it for him. But let's start off with the Challenge Cup final. 17 points to 16 after extra time to the Lee Leopards.
Final.
First of all, what a season for them to win the Challenge Cup in the first year in the top in the first season back in the top division. Most teams target staying up in the league as the goal for the season.
Yeah.
To be third in the league or fourth in the top four and win a Challenge Cup, that's an unbelievable return
Yeah.
for Derek Beaumont's
Yeah.
men.
Well, last year they won the 1895 Cup against Featherstone, and going into that game, I thought Featherstone were favourites, and I thought they were favourites to go up as well, and their fans would have been targeted, getting the double and coming up. But Lee spent quite a bit of money last year, and usually we've got these yo-yo teams because they only get promoted at the end of the season. They don't know what division they're going to be in, and there's no players left for them to sign, so you end up coming up still with the championship squad.
Yeah.
Last year, Beaumont took a bit of a risk, you would say, and he signed some players who were Super League quality on perhaps Super League wages, in the hopes that they would get promoted.
Briscoe, Charnley,
Blake
Jack Hughes.
Ferguson.
I think
Lam
Lamb come over when he
Lam,
was still
Happy.
in the championship.
Yeah, so these guys who
Joe
made up the core of this year's team, because they only added a few, were with them last year in the championship. So
They were already tied down to a contract then when you
Yeah.
come into Super League, rather than having to bring in 6 or 7 players to up your squad's quality.
they had to go up, and they did, which meant they didn't have to faff around when everyone else's recruitment was done. So they had their squad ready, which is a big deal. And so I think they were targeting a bit more than staying up. I think they were probably targeting a mid-table finish, maybe push towards
try and
sixth.
pushing at 6.
Yeah,
To win the cup and
but to win the cup and be well entrenched in the top 6, it's a fantastic return. Yeah, brilliant.
I think the Challenge Cup's been good as a competition for stories, hasn't it? Narratives like we had Catalan winning it a good couple of years back, and it was like this is a massive thing for like French Rugby League.
Yeah.
Lee winning it this time, obviously, as again in the kind of story they're making in the first season in the Super League.
you mentioned Catalans, you have to look at how they've then gone on from
Yeah,
that
they've bounced on
and
and they've
developed a
progressed, haven't
squad
they?
that's probably as strong as any in Super League.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they're sitting
And
top of the table.
Sit
at
top of the
minute,
table
yeah.
with 4 points clear.
So it's a really good competition for clubs and towns and communities to be able to make history, make stories, and like you say, kick on and progress after winning it. So no, it's been really good. It's been a really good Challenge Cup. tournament, and I think Lee, they've epitomised
There's
it by
not
the
been any
season there,
ball
haven't
away
they?
scores.
It was a fantastic final, wasn't it?
Yeah, the best
really.
final
A
for
final
some time.
that was worth it was worth the wait and the return to Wembley and all that.
Yeah.
These
And the
two
build
teams
up and everything
really
that comes with it.
they
Shall
really
we-
set up a nice final for us.
Should we start at the end then with the winning moments? Obviously, it goes to extra time at 16-16,
Yeah, another game for extra time for OKR.
and both teams have a go, and both teams miss the golden point 1 pointer. But then it actually starts a chain of events with Brad Schneider, who won the semi-final with a drop goal,
Yeah,
missing touch. I don't know
Yeah.
whether he's mishit it or whether he's been a little bit greedy and tried to get too much yardage. But that's a criminal mistake, isn't it?
it's really hard to blame Brad Schneider for this because number one, it wouldn't be there without him, guaranteed. Number two, in the last minute of the game, I know I'm going earlier now. I'm not.
But he's very calm in that situation.
He's laid on the tie-in try with a perfect kick, inch perfect kick. That kick's not inch perfect. They lose the game in normal time. So he set up a try in the 79th, 80th minute, whatever, with a perfect kick to send you to extra time.
And to kick the goal as well.
And he kicked the goal. Yeah, he's got a fine touch with that penalty goal, but
I just think sometimes...
he's done so much.
How often do you see teams not kick the ball into touch? They always go safe. They always end up... It's one of my biggest pet hates at Wigan. We kick the ball 20 rows back
Oh
into...
my word, they do it 10 metres game penalty. But we may just take 10. I don't know if you can take 10 in professional rugby, like kind of amateur, but if we can, we may as well just do that.
Well, they
So
only
we'll just
do
take
they only do take 10 in case the ball gets lost in the canal or whatever at those grounds.
That could happen at Wigan, to be
Yeah,
fair.
But I'm sat there and I'm going, this is the one time that I'd be happy with Wigan booting it 30 rows back.
Yeah,
because
because
you
it's
just
the
don't wanna
tackles,
make
isn't it?
mistakes.
It's the tackles you need, not so much the distance. It's the tackles that you need.
There was a bit before that actually, where again, I'm not trying to blame for the win, but Schneider, I don't think, again, it was Hockey as a team, not just Schneider, but he happened to just go for the drop goal, obviously, because he's the guy to do it. But they got there and he was never in the position to hit a drop goal, and you thought, just bomb it up into the corner and back your defence. He didn't. He went for the drop goal, it missed, it went out, so then it gave Lee the 7 tackle set, which made then they was able to get downfield, and everyone, the commentators and people said, just bomb it into the corner and just backed it.
This is the thing, when you compare the extra time that they played against us in the semi,
We were the ones doing that,
we were the ones that did that. We didn't play extra time well.
forcing the drop goal from the wrong
Yeah.
angle and from too far out.
Well, they got quick play the balls, got in the right position, took the chance, and kicked it. It seemed like they were a little bit Hull KR were a little bit rushed, a little bit.
They lacked composure for me in this game, okay. I thought in the first 10 minutes Lee got on top, they couldn't get the complete sets, they were giving away penalties early on, they were making mistakes with ball in hand errors and things, and I felt like the kick missing touch at the end kind of epitomised where they defended well, they managed to score some tries, say off good kicks from Schneider and things like that to keep themselves obviously within the game and obviously take it to golden point. But I think like what cost them that game was probably just a lack of
I think we
composure.
played the final
More
better
than anything.
overall, if I'm being honest. Not massively, because I still think Lee made a few mistakes, but I think in the big moments there was a set in golden point, and I wanted to highlight it with Zach Hardacre, where he went to marker, and I think it was after the O'Brien missed drop goal, and they were coming out.
Well, he had about 3 tackles on the bounce,
He
didn't
made
he, from
four
there? Was it 4?
back to back from marker. The first one he didn't. He flew out of the line, was onside, but he absolutely flew out of the line and tackled him almost behind the play of the ball, and then he made 3 tackles where he went from marker, and that's a big player in a big moment, realising that his team needs something special.
Well, Hardacre's been there, done that in finals before, and yeah, you can say his opposite number, Sean Kinnedale. But if you think Lee last year won 2 finals, I know the 1895 and the Championship, the £1 Million game, whatever, they are what they are, but they still had to
Win them.
get ready for a final that meant a lot and win them.
And know that if you lose, you get nothing.
Exactly.
And I
Hull
just
KR
think-
haven't done that.
I think that moment sums Zach Hardacre up, and we know that he's done things wrong in the past and he's made mistakes. but he's a brilliant rugby brain, and he realised that his team needed something in that moment, because 7 tackles, they could easily go bang, 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 roll down the field, and Schneider would get another go at a drop goal. He stepped up in that moment then and almost pinned Hull KR into their own half, meaning that Schneider couldn't get an attempt. I think that was absolutely brilliant and something that can't be undermissed. Something that can't be missed.
Underestimated,
So that then means that we go to Golden Point. O'Brien, he's the usual drop goal taker. He's hit winning drop goals in £1 million games against Hull KR previously.
Oh wow, what a throwback that would have been if he'd have kicked the winning drop goal. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, but again, Ipape made a brilliant drive 2 tackles before to get some speed. And a man who actually got a lot of credit at the start of the year, but it seems to have died off, Robbie Mulhern. I actually thought he made a brilliant drive the play before where he ran in. He almost goes at the back of the ruck.
Yeah, if you could have
And
he
set it up perfect.
where you would want to take a drop goal from on the field, as in width, not necessarily distance from the goal because he can't really control that, but width, he nailed it, didn't he?
But then
Mulhern nailed. Were to get tackled.
He just drifts across as well at the back of the ruck, and he lands on his front. They sort of grabbing at ankles as he's going past. He lands on his front, quick play the ball, and it actually means that Ipape can get a quick ball out and they're not set. If he'd have just took that ball up, Hull KR can make 3 or 4 men, slow him down, put him on his back, and they get a chance to go at it.
Yeah.
Because of what they did and how he managed to land on his front, it means that they get the quick play of the ball. It's probably a poor pass from Ipape, a little bit behind O'Brien, meaning that as a right footer he can't really get needs to fully turn.
That's why you have 2 men lined up for it.
But Lamb was set up ready for that to come back, and he absolutely nailed it. And it was one of them, as soon as it came off the boot, I think everyone just went, it's over. You just knew it was over. Big moments like that call for big players, and he is a big match player from what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
He if we go back to the full 80 minutes, his try, he was all over everything, but he backs that up so well.
It was a lovely team try, that. When they
Brilliant
moved it to that
team
left
try.
edge and they had the full bodies in motion, and I'll say that quite a bit, but the guys at the back, and he was just dragging defenders all over the place, plays it short, he crashes through, supports back round.
That's it for
go
me.
under the sticks. It's a great team try, that one.
He always seems to pop up in the right place. Lamb.
Yeah.
He sets something up and he's backing it up.
That's important. It's an underrated quality.
Yeah.
In a half-back.
And we're quite lucky that we've got
Harry Smith,
who does that, and a lot of backing up from Field and French.
Right, yeah.
Lamb does it quite a lot by himself. O'Brien isn't that style of full-back that he's backing every play up. Ben Reynolds, he's not your most organising half-back. He's the second half-back to Lamb.
Mello, when he comes off the bench, he's good at that.
Yeah, Mellor takes a lot of the organisation role on. But Lamb, big game, you need him to stand up, and he got his hands all over absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the let's go back to the start of the game. 3 minutes in, another controversial moment for John Asiata.
Well, this was Hull KR trying something I think they've planned.
It felt planned
for a week or two, with Asiata going low with his tackle technique that he always tries.
But there's
on
no
George
man in there.
King.
It's above the knee, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong
They
with
just
it.
all kicked off.
We were speaking about this the other day, weren't we, Tom? And I think the I don't know if it was planned off Hull KR, or even if it was, I don't think it's been planned in a way to try and win a penalty or whatever it might be. I think it's basically the conversation that I've been had saying, look, and I think the people to blame here, I don't want to be too negative on this, but is the RFL. Because they've done nothing, they've known it's gone on since Wellens ranted about after the St Helens game.
Yeah.
But they didn't ban the tackle, they didn't make it, everyone keeps saying, and I don't understand this, maybe disagree with me, correct me if I'm wrong, but they keep saying, oh well, it's very hard to outrule it. I don't think it is. It's a cannonball tackle. But it's just not when they're held up in a tackle. It's a one-on-one cannonball tackle.
For me, this one for example.
This one I agree. This one wasn't.
There is nothing wrong with it.
But the problem is now he's got a reputation where because he's dove in at the leg, and although I agree this one I don't think was a cannonball tackle, it was a legal just legs tackle, because it looks somewhat similar.
Yeah.
And because the RFL haven't done anything in terms to outlaw it, to ban him, to whatever, they've said, look, if he does that, and similar, I would be, if I was playing, if someone did that to your mate at the side of you, when it's injured two people and did their seasons already, he did it to Dupree when he played us, and Dupree got up and played his ball a bit gingerly, thank God he didn't get injured.
Yeah.
Then you would say, look, if the AFL aren't going to solve it, we'll solve it ourselves. If do it to one of our lads, he's having it. So although I agree with you, I don't think it was a cannonballish one because it looks somewhat similar. They went, he's at it again, so they all ran in to try and solve it themselves. So I feel like the AFL need to do something.
I agree with what you're saying, but it wasn't a solve it. For me, if you're going to solve it yourself, you've done that to one of our fellas, you get up and you fight. You go after him. Because
do you think
I think
that...
the fact it's a Challenge Cup final,
Yeah,
probably,
you can't fight...
you're not really going to start.
No, you can't throw because it's an
just
automatic red.
But I just think that solves nothing. He's not
No,
penalised.
what they did was a bit of pushing and shoving, try and stop the game, see if it gets reviewed on the video, see if he sends somebody off, see if he get a penalty from it. What it ended up doing, George King was the man who was tackled, and he gets up straight away, and Mikey Lewis tells him to stay down, pushes him on the back and says stay down, stay down. Luckily for the sport,
which is absolutely shocking.
That is disgraceful. You should be
luckily
doing
for the sport,
Ban him
George
now.
King actually
Ban him
gets
now.
up straight away anyway, and he doesn't listen to Mikey Lewis.
Should just ban him now.
So at least there was that. But you're setting out potentially to see if you can get a penalty or a yellow card out of something
And I'm
on
glad.
purpose. And I'm glad that the referee ended up saying, well, you've run in, you've made this a big deal, so you're getting a penalty against yourselves. It's a free 2 points for Lee. When it's 0-0, I don't mind going for 2 when it's 0-0 in the final. And in the end, obviously, they could have done with them 2 points, okay.
And it just changes all the game. It just stops that momentum from going. I didn't think it was a penalty. It felt like... I bet him he always thinks they're final. Just get into an arm wrestle. Don't be the first team to bottle that arm wrestle. And that, to me, was Hull KR. I don't want to say bottling that wrestle, but they were looking for an easy way to get a penalty. They were looking to get a penalty and get some easy meters. Where I just think, go set for set. We'll go set for set longer than you will. And that's my opinion in a final. Lee do the clever thing, take 2, get us ahead, we'll take the ball back.
I can just understand from OKR's point why I think if anybody else does that tackle, they probably wouldn't have done anything. But because it's Aziat and he's got that reputation, it's a talked about thing at the minute, and it's like he's done it again and it's him, he's that's probably why they've reacted the way they have. But I feel like, I don't want to get off topic to the final, but we've talked about these tackles before.
No, I
I'm
do
not
think
a
they're
big
going to
fan
be
of them.
outlawed. I think it's going to be something similar to what we saw with the hip drop.
But for me, I wonder... I always ask myself, what do you want a player to do other than that? So he's gone, he's trying to make a one-on-one legs tackle to chop the legs. How's he now meant to tackle the legs? Because we're outlawing tackles high.
Well, you
contact with the head.
You can see legs tackles where they don't dive at joints. I think that's the big problem, is diving at joints.
I agree, but you're that situation. If I remember right, he's sort of sideways on into. Does he go from marker or inside
He's
pressure?
at marker, but he does kind of... Is it like down a diagonal? He's not exactly square on, but he's not coming from the side. He's like in between the two type thing.
And he's trying to hit the legs. He's trying to wrap the legs, bring him down to the ground and get an easy tackle. How else is he meant to influence that tackle? If he goes any higher, he ends up concussed and knocks himself out going into George King's hip.
Well, I think
But
that's
he's lucky
the
he's
risk
not
anyway.
knocked it. Yeah, he's
That's
not
the
knocked. He's lucky he's not knocked
The
himself
person
out
at
before,
most
diving
risk
at
of these
his knees.
tackles is John Asiata, because he's putting his head where all the knees go.
We talked about the concussion and things like that.
Maybe that's how you solve it. If you see him coming in for you and you see his head low, just knee him in.
I just think if you keep running normally, Lewis, I think that's going to
It's
happen.
going to happen.
This is what I mean. though.
He's playing with fire doing this kind of tackle
I have the
technique.
issue of what... I don't mind outlawing certain tackles if there's an issue with them, but how are you meant to tackle otherwise?
But we see people tackle other ways. There's only John Asiata doing these tackles.
Well, James Bell tried one.
But sorry, Bell after Asiata's done
But
one.
I
But
bet-
in terms of,
I
it's
bet
John
if you go-
Asiata who's brought this tackle technique, if you want to call it that, to light
see-
sort of thing.
I think he's only brought it to light because Walmsley's got injured. And
Do you
Parson-
think?
Yeah. I don't think he just suddenly started doing it at St Helens. I bet if you go back through 10 games, you'll have seen 3 or 4 tackles very similar to it. He's just hit a different point of the leg and no one's picked up on it.
Yeah.
It's a situation that we're asking them to go lower. We're asking people to tackle lower. Look at the rules in the academy. You can't tackle above shoulder height, armpit height. You can't tackle above that. You hit the ball, your wrist sliding up like Joe Shorrock's did. So you go in and hit hips and knees and risk knocking yourself out. Like, at some point, we're just not going to be able to tackle.
It's the reckless dives I don't like.
That's it, it's the diving.
It's the reckless just throwing yourself at someone. That it's just, yeah. I don't know what about, because I understand as well. I know it's because we're playing rugby league and you've got a tackle, there's going to be contact, but it can be done in a safe way. And I think
Diving and launching is.
But I do agree when I get to a point. This tackle that he did in this specific game, I don't think there was anything wrong.
I
with.
agree.
It's the previous tackles I've got a problem.
I agree.
Now, Jez Layton opens the actual scoring to make it 6 points to 2 after
try.
Lee had kicked at the
It
penalty.
was a nice
Good try that.
Good try. Jez Layton's always been a player that sort of gone under the radar, really.
Well, it was
And he,
yeah.
he seems to be starting to get a bit of the credit that he deserves, but I've been impressed with him this season.
We have an England call up, didn't he? This
Was it
this
to the
year?
Knights or was it to the full squad?
Who did he play against?
Played against France,
Did he play against
Yeah,
France?
yeah.
Against
I
France.
can't remember if he was in the Knights or not.
Well, it was kind of a Knights hybrid team, wasn't it? Because a lot of players didn't play. They would usually play for England's first team. But yeah, he was good in that game. I think he deserved his England call up. So good try for him. Good moment.
And a guy who's actually keeping Matt Parcell on the bench.
Yeah, they're
He's
a good
now-
1-2 punch though. Still,
Yeah.
I think.
Parcell at his best when he was at Leeds and before he came was off the bench 15-20 minutes and explosive and making things happen. Jez Layton's almost the opposite of that. He does a lot of the hard work and a lot of the tackling early on. And looks like a very, very solid man. He's also filled in the house, hasn't he? A few
Yeah.
games when,
Yeah.
when they've had the injuries.
They both like a run from dummy half as well. They
I
both
think
are
that's why
quite attacking.
they are quite similar players, I would say, in that regard. That they both do like a scoot and then bring people in, drag defences behind the ruck and then short balls and things like that. So I do think that works because it's always fresh legs then, isn't it, if you've got two of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then Lachlan Lamb hits back just over 10 minutes later. As you said before, an absolutely brilliant team move.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy online over this. People saying that he dropped the ball, and then you
No.
look from one angle,
No.
and I just went,
He didn't drop the
what
ball.
are people on about?
He didn't drop the ball at all.
It just felt like someone was looking for a reason to complain. And
There was a still image that looked like he maybe dropped the ball, but when you actually watched the other angle, it was obvious that he plonked it down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why video refs have more than one angle.
exactly.
But yeah, this was this was never going to get given as a knock on anyway. It was never going to get checked, and the right decision was made anyway because he definitely didn't drop it.
No,
It was a
definitely
lovely
not.
try. It was a great try.
Well, then the game has another big controversial moment around the 30th minute mark, and Elliot Minicella gets a yellow card.
Yeah, I was going to praise him actually for his build up in the Lytton try,
Yeah.
but then this was not a great moment for him.
I was amazed to see anyone complaining that this wasn't a yellow.
This was
For me, there's 4 or 5 key things about it.
yeah.
He's off his feet. His foot is going towards the shin of Ben Reynolds, which can cause an injury in itself. He turns his back, and there's contact with the head.
Late.
5 things there that you're saying. How can it not be a
The
yellow,
con-
if not a red?
The only reason it wasn't a red was that the contact was somewhat toned down because he slowed down into the contact.
But it was still late.
But it was
and
still,
he was still
all
direct.
those things, so you've got to send him off for it. You've got to send him off for 10 minutes.
Dominate as well. When it's just charging down a kick and all you have to do is either run past with your arms up in the air or let him kick it and just literally wrap
Just
your
wrap your
arms
arms
around
around
him
him,
and give
yeah.
him a hug. It's like, there's no
As-
excuse for it.
Obviously, I don't play professional rugby league. Why do we not do this more? Wigan, I'm critical of Wigan for it. Saints do it. Every team seems to at some point in the game hit a kicker
Hit the
late,
kicker.
as if like, well, you've done it once, so we'll give you a penalty back. Like, that's how it feels. Why can we not just say, every time we come, just make sure you wrap the arm, just hold him, just give him a hug. That's all you need to do. You put the pressure on, get there, hug him. It just,
It's dumb, isn't it? It's just a
disbelief.
dumb penalty.
It's
to
a
give
stupid
away.
reason to get yellow carded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not saving a try. You're not pinching meters. You're not slowing down at the ruck so your team can get back and defend. It's just a daft. I can get those yellow cards. It's just a daft yellow card.
Yeah.
And they get away with it really because Lee obviously don't score in that time. They kick the penalty
They take the two, which
to
are
make it 14-12.
no, it made it 10-6, didn't it?
10-6, sorry, yeah.
It was a 10-6. I don't know why you would kick the goal then. They were 8-6 up, right? And you get a penalty. And the other team's just been sent down to 12
You've
men.
just scored with a brilliant try off Lachlan 5 minutes earlier.
I understand if this game is 6 apiece and you get the 2. I understand taking it then. But when the other team has just gone down to 12 for 10 minutes, you're going to waste one of those minutes to take your lead from 2 to 4. I know it ended up being alright for them, but I think I probably would have had
Well,
a
we
go.
actually had that conversation in our semi-final that when
I know, but
Kenny Dow
we were down to 12 as well then. So
Yeah.
then I don't mind it as much. But when you're 13 on 12 for 10 minutes, you actually only 13 on 12 for 9 minutes because you take a minute off the clock.
knowing you're going to have, they're only going to have one of them minutes after the second half.
It's not an argument though. It's a cup final. You take every point on offer.
Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well just drop goal every time you get down near to
Well,
the end.
I suppose.
I had the issue in the semi-final that we were going to...
I was
Wasted-
happy with us taking 2 in the semi-final
Yeah,
because
I
we were
underst-
against 12 men and we had 12
I
men.
understood it, but I also thought to myself, when are you going to get chances on the line where it's even now? Because you're always, when he comes back on, you're going to be down to, are you going to score against 13 men? Well, you've got a chance here. We never got field position back after that. For the next 10 minutes, we never got near Hull KR's line.
There's nothing to say Lee would have scored from this, but they might have taken a bit more out of Hull KR's 12 men.
Maybe just test them
It's
a
one of
little
those we've literally just been talking about this for instead that the outcome determines whether the result was the correct one or not. If they don't take the 2 and then they go on to and they don't score, everyone goes you should have took the 2. If they don't take the 2 and score, everyone says that was a good option not to take the 2. The outcome
that's literally it,
determines if the
because
result is the good one. You
They
don't
might,
know.
they might tap it and drop ball up first tackle.
He might really drop it when he taps it on his foot. You don't know, do you? He could kick it out his own hands and knock it. You don't know.
With that kick, he might miss the kick.
But no, like you said though at the end,
But we
Matt,
should get
it ended
ball
up it worked out in the end.
Yeah,
do you know what I
it
mean?
worked out. And I get the whole cup final, get the 2 points on off, I think, yeah. I
Well
understand.
then, there was a couple of penalties, both for Hull KR, until Tom Briscoe scores on the 66th minute. An interesting stat I saw, he's now got as many tries in Challenge Cup finals as Hull KR do. One player, 8.
He got 5 playing for Leeds against OKR, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I saw.
And I'm sure he scored one for Hull, didn't he?
He's got 8 in
Yeah,
total.
that's so good. Why do we not talk about that more? He's got 8 tries in Challenge Cup finals.
Challenge Cup finals.
There's
I
really a
think,
person not scared when he walks out at Wembley.
I know.
He's just like, this is my turf. Like,
This
I
is
know what I'm
basically
doing
it's
here.
at home from home, isn't it? Why does that not get talked about more that he's got 8 tries in Challenge Cup final?
but again, it was a really good play from Lee. And Briscoe scores, they convert it
Good try, good finish. I'm very
to take it to 16 points to 10.
impressed, yeah.
And you're confident then, you're in control of this game then.
Goaled it from touchline as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Big, massive kick that. And we had to wait till the very last minute of the game for the try that we did mention before, Brad Schneider with the kick.
Yeah.
Matt Parcell
Following up.
They
They made a bit of a meal of it though, didn't they, Lee?
Yeah,
Okay,
he had a
it's
chance
just
to
like-
defuse it.
Just diffuse this and you've won,
And it was to Hardacre's
Or-
side as well. I thought Hardacre
or
was,
knock
was
it dead.
all over it.
and you've got another set to defend.
And it's
so
the
you
way
live
it
to fight
bounces,
another
doesn't it?
day.
He goes behind
Yeah.
Jack Hughes and he doesn't know where the ball is, and Parcell's rushing up on the inside to score.
It was a good kick though.
Yeah, meaning that it went to 16 points to 16, and then obviously golden point happens. Now, I have got a question for you guys. I saw it on one of the Super League accounts that we follow on Twitter, asking, is golden point fair in a final? And I had a big response to it where I said, Well, yeah, because no one complained when Hull KR weren't complaining when they won against us in the semi-final. And it feels like
Leeds beat Salford in Golden Point in the Challenge Cup final, and this was brought up then.
it always feels like the team that's higher in the league wins. Everyone has a problem with Golden Point.
Well, you've said that before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, if it's the big
And
one, too.
I do believe it should be 10 minutes extra time because you should get a chance to respond to a drop goal. So I would have no problem with 10 minutes of extra time and then go to Golden Point after that.
That's what it should be.
But it has to be the same for the entire tournament. You can't just bring it in for the final.
Yeah.
It's
no,
just,
it should be the same for every game of rugby. Well, league games.
I wouldn't mind if league games were
you
Golden
can,
Point.
You can do a
So
draw.
why are people saying goal point isn't fair? Because if you win the toss, you've got
an
an advantage
to
to get the first shot at the goal, basically.
Oh, and I think it's also just because.
Is it all right to lose by 1 point?
No, I don't think it's that. I don't know if it's necessarily a fair thing. I just don't like drop goal competitions. They're just a bit.
Yeah.
It's not rugby then, is it?
Yeah.
No.
It's
And the
just
whole what you
drives
talked
and
about
everything.
with the good drive from Mulhern, yeah, that was great rugby, but just drop goal competition. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit. So would that be your kind of proposal? 10 minutes extra time and then Golden Point.
Try and score a try. If you've got 10 minutes extra time, you score a try and kick the goal.
Then you might try a drop goal to get
Well,
to
then
7 points.
then you might try. So you're basically just doing another 10 minutes of normal
But
rugby then, aren't
you
you?
then got, there's then risk and reward. Then do you have a go at one pointer
Or
to
do you
get
play
to
rugby
7?
for 6 minutes and then try and drop the goal in the last 4 like you would do if it was 76 minutes.
Exactly.
Type thing.
But think about this though, right? And it brings all the jeopardy into the game. Then if you score in the second minute and you've got a 6-point lead,
Yeah.
and you work your way downfield and you've got a chance at a 1 point to get to 7. Do you take it? Because if you miss, you give them a 7 tackle set on the 20 metre line.
I know what Ian Watson would do. Ian Watson would pass it out to his centre and take a drive. And say, right, there you go, score from 98 metres.
Now, shall we move on to the women's final? That was played before the men's final. St Helens vs Leeds.
Yeah, this
St
was the
Helens-
first one that was at Wembley.
Yeah,
So a lot of people were
8,000
obviously
on
very
at
excited.
that point.
A lot of the players were very excited to play at Wembley, so fantastic for them. I've seen a few people calling for it to be a standalone fixture.
I think 3 finals on the day is a lot, and a lot can
Yeah.
go wrong. If they go golden point, and then the award ceremony runs over and whatever. And we
I don't
ended
know.
up seeing the 1975 final only kicking off at 6 o'clock.
Well, it's only starting at 1975.
Oh,
1895, you mean?
sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I said 1975 for a moment. Leave me alone. But that only kicks off at 6 o'clock then.
I don't know if that really matters. I think it's just you want women's rugby to stand on 2 feet eventually, but it's perhaps not there yet. So I think it could be for the future.
The question is they've been given an attendance of over 8,000 for the game. Would they get 8,000 at a standalone event?
They probably would, but they
that
wouldn't get to
also-
play at Wembley.
Would that also be affected with the traffic issues we haven't mentioned yet? Because there's a lot of people struggling to get down there in time. So I
Yeah,
don't
a
know
lot
if
of
they
a lot of the Lee and Hull KR fans would have been counted in that, arriving early as we did last year for the 1895, 1775.
I don't think it.
18.
The Mickey Mouse Club, that's the easiest thing.
895 AD Cup. And then we get counted for the attendance for that one, when actually we're there for the second game, but we've watched both. So I think maybe the traffic issues would have affected it. It's a good point, that, Lewis.
See, I don't think the women's game at the moment they would be able to use Wembley by itself.
No, it wouldn't be Wembley. It wouldn't be
Exactly.
Wembley. It would be.
And I think the chance to go and play at Wembley is a massive event. And
Yeah,
that should-
yeah.
You take that away if you have this as a standalone final.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps in the future, but I think for now, it's probably a good thing to have it as a curtain raiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year it was at Ellen Road, wasn't it? And with the
Before the
before the 2 semi-finals, and I think if you're gonna do the women's final as a curtain raiser, it has to be for the men's final.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do it as a curtain raiser for the semi.
Yeah.
So I think what they did this year was right.
But let's go on to the game. Saints winning 22 points to 8. 4 tries for Saints and 3 of the 5 goal attempts being converted. 2 tries for Leeds and neither converted.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with this game. It was enjoyable to watch. I thought.
Women's rugby since, well, I suppose 2018 was when it first became a bit of a big deal, and teams in Super League started to get women's teams. In the last 5 years, it has come on so much. It's still got a way to go, but it's unrecognisable from the sport that was beginning, where people were just taking really straightforward drives from a standing start and then seeing what happens.
It's good as well because it seems like the game as a whole has backed it.
Yeah.
A lot of the professional clubs invest in getting women's teams, so a lot of them now do. I think. Would it be right in saying all Super League teams have a women's?
I don't think all of them do. I think it's about 8.
I know Wigan and all Saints. I know Leeds. Lee
have got one, yeah.
Got one now. Obviously, York are doing great things there. York Valkyrie and stuff. I think
Castleford. I think they either have one or had one, and a lot of the
Warrington's
players
got
went
one.
to
Leeds.
the York and Leeds,
Right.
but especially the York Valkyrie team. But yeah,
For
me,
Wakefield have got
a couple
one.
of games have been shown on Sky Sports
The
before,
thing-
like the men's games come on and stuff. So it's got Sky coverage. So I think it's good how the game's got behind it.
Yeah.
And it's allowing it to grow in a
The
way.
thing that's really impressed me is obviously, as every season goes on, every sport gets better because you learn more and the player development and all the things that happen because the players of today are better than the players of 20 years ago, physically and plans and tactically, because of the developments in the sport. I'm more impressed at the rate of development in the women's game over 5 years, from probably around 2018. The game is 10, 15, 20 years more advanced than what it was.
The problem we're going to face now is the NRLW is bigger and better. There are more teams in the NRL having women's teams now, which is a good thing. But it does mean quite a lot of our high-end talent, a lot of our England international talent has been poached by these new NRLW franchises.
But do you not think that's very similar to the men's game? And that
No, but
Yeah.
we have more. We have more stars staying in the men's game here rather than. It seems like the best player from Wigan, the 2 best players from York, one of the best players from Leeds. It seems like they've all gone to the NRLW this year.
But do you not think
It'll make our England national team much stronger.
I think there's a way that this could be played out that actually there is money in it now, and in the NRLW there are quite a lot of players that are full time, and if you want to get into women's rugby league, there is a world where
You can do well for Wigan or Saints or Lee.
go and prove that you can do it here.
Yeah.
You can go and get a full time job doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that it's got to be played to everyone that watches. That yeah, we might be behind the NRLW, but they are getting professional. So there's chances for you to make money now if you want to get involved in it. And our goal is to match them, is to be a fully professional league in the future. I think that's where the league has got to push to now. Let's try and get players playing over there, getting paid, improve our national squad, improve the game over here.
Yeah. You improve your international team, you improve your domestic teams, you improve your grassroots teams,
And you get more people playing.
get more people playing.
I think it's good because the internet. Going back on what I said before, the international game will flourish now because the clubs have taken it seriously. They've got women's teams, they've got women's academy teams. It's like they're really putting so they're putting a lot of investment into it, the clubs, which is great to see.
We're going to fielded 3 women's teams, which is unbelievable.
It's
Isn't
really
it?
brilliant.
Unbelievable.
It is brilliant, and I said to you about 6 weeks ago, I saw a tweet and it was that the Wigan's women's academy team
Yeah.
was playing, and I went,
They played just today.
I didn't even know that at the time, and I went, that's brilliant.
So we have a
an
women's,
academy
we have a
side,
women's first team, a women's reserve team, and a women's academy team.
massive.
Plus wheelchair reserves. Academy scholarship reserves, men's first team. What's that, 9 teams?
Yeah,
We
9,
have
10 teams.
PDRL. We have LDRL. I think somebody did say we've got 11 teams. I think that's all done. But in one club, 11 teams is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic effort by everyone at the club. And obviously what we see on a Friday night is the first 17 men's players turn up and play against Hull, for example.
Yeah.
But behind that, there are 10 other teams playing,
Yeah.
all under the same banner. So it's fantastic. It's good. And, you know, we've got all our links with the community game as well. I know Matt Peters big on the community game. Spent a lot of time there himself. You're big on building links. So yeah, it's a good place to be a Wigan fan right now, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
very much so. Now, shall we ever talk about the last final that was played at Wembley on Saturday?
Yeah.
It was the 1843. Sorry. It was the 1895 Cup final, Batley versus
1895, yes.
Halifax. And
I think it was the first time the final was played at Wembley, is that right? 1895? First cup final at Wembley?
Yeah, because it was at Tottenham obviously last year.
No, I'm not talking about that. I mean, yeah, it was the first time the 1895 Cup was played at Wembley, but I mean, the name 1895 Cup
Yeah.
comes from when the first final was at Wembley. I think it was in that year. I think that's where it
Yeah,
comes from.
yes. Sorry, I missed your point there.
No, yeah. But yeah, it's a good idea, I think. And we've had the Northern Rail Cup in the past. That was the same idea, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Northern
very
Rail
similar.
Cup.
But this was a
Awful
game.
name.
The Northern Rail
Northern
Cup.
Rail.
This is the
Delayed.
AB Sundex,
It was
1895.
delayed, wasn't it? The Northern
Yeah.
Cup final.
It came at 1895 actually. That's what it said on the board.
But Halifax were 12-0 up with 10 minutes left after a try from Moore and 4 goals, 3 of them being penalties. Then Batley in the last 10 minutes decided to really put up a big fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2 ex-Wiganers playing in this. Josh Woods played in the halves for Batley.
Yes.
And Sammy Kabula played on the bench for Batley.
Oh, that's good.
Never made did he make a full team first team debut?
No, I think he went to Warrington when he was
I remember
academy,
him, I remember him playing a pre-season friendly at Barrow. I don't think he ever made a competitive debut. I might be wrong in that, but he had a few loan spells, and then he went to Warrington, as you said there, Lewis. He definitely made his Super League debut for them.
But
Played against us, I think.
this was literally into the last 10 minutes. Batley score with a try from Morton with 8 minutes left, and Luke Hooley, he's on loan from
Leeds.
isn't
They
he?
played against
Yeah.
Leeds the week before, and Leeds basically said, because we've no game next week, he's allowed to play in the 1895 Cup.
Yeah,
because
he's on a 2-week loan.
He
didn't
played in all the other rounds of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then people can argue Elliot Keir scored in the 80th minute. People have argued, is it the best try at Wembley? It's certainly got a conversation to be had, because
Yeah.
in that situation, to keep the ball alive, I'm trying to think how to describe it.
Hot potato.
Oh,
Yeah,
one
makes
game,
it
Sammy
very
Kabula. Sammy Kabula played one game in Super League for Wigan against Huddersfield.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, and he had loans at Swinton, London Scholars, Dewsbury, Swinton again. 2 appearances in Super League for Warrington. Bradford, which is where I remember him playing last. I didn't realise he'd gone to Batley this year, but 2 tries in 3 games, really.
But
That's
talking
not
about this try, if you've not seen it, go and watch it, because it is the definition of
hot potato, yeah.
keep,
Yeah,
keep,
hot
keep,
potato,
keep
just
the
keep
ball
it
alive.
Keep it alive.
We just know you can't get tackled, because they set up a play to start with to the left, and the hooker went to the right. You can see the halfback throwing his arms up in the air, not very happy. But then everyone does really well to get back on side as the ball's being thrown around
Yeah.
and keep that ball alive. And they score in the corner to make it 12-10 with a kick to come.
Keir, wasn't it, who scored?
Yeah,
Who
Keir.
was played for Wales in the World Cup.
Yeah, and it was Luke Hooley who had the effort at goal. Really, really close, but he unfortunately misses
Off the touchline.
off the touchline.
So close. Part of me thinks that try deserved to be gold, just so that it was worth something. But then another part of me thinks, well, Halifax were the better team for so much
For
of that
70
game
minutes.
Yeah.
that I think the in the end, even
It's
though
a
it was
fair
such
result.
They
a,
did
even though it
deserve
was
to
2
win.
great tries, I think they deserved to win. Halifax, the justice was done, and you know Halifax are a really interesting team. They beat Featherstone the week before this final.
Yeah.
Which is only the second time Featherstone have lost all year. So for them to beat Featherstone the week before a final and then go on and win it, I know Lee did the same thing, but yeah, really big deal for them. And hopefully they can use it a bit like Lee as a stepping stone and build
Push
on
on
it.
in the
Hopefully,
next
yeah.
2-3 years.
Halifax, they used to be a really big team, really big player, and especially in the Challenge Cup. So, yeah.
Now, we're going to have a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the only Super League game of this week. And then we're going to have a look at Wigan's season and what you guys have said. So we'll be back shortly. So before we start talking about Wigan's season, we're going to quickly review the one Super League game that was played. St Helens vs Huddersfield. This was a round one clash because they had to postpone the game due to commitments in the World Club Challenge. It now means that everyone in the league is on 21 points, and it gives a bit of a more fair assessment of the league, because there's always that who could win there. And this game, St Helens won 32 points to 18. A hat-trick for Tommy Makinson was one of the major talking points of the game. Tries also were for Lewis Dodd and Jack Wellesby for St Helens. Matt English, Ash Goulding and Kevin Nguama were the try scorers for Huddersfield in this game that finished 32 points to 18. Now there's a few key talking points really. Let's start with the first try, Tommy Makinson's first. They make a decent play down the right hand side, a good offload from Percival.
Percival, yeah.
We've talked about Jake Connor a lot in this podcast, and he's a man that makes people talk about the game. But for this time, it's got to be about some very, very poor defence. They make a break down the right hand side, and he's sliding across at the full-back position. Not got a problem with it. He then slows down as if he's trying to push Makinson into the corner. The only problem is there's no...
No, the only problem is... Two problems. Number one, Makinson is an expert at that finish.
Yeah.
So pushing Makinson into the corner is a bad idea to start with. Secondly, there was no inside support, so...
There was no inside support, and there was at least 4 men from Huddersfield coming across to help him.
He's made an half break, hasn't he? It wasn't full on in the clear where you
It
think
wasn't
it's
in the
dirt.
clear, no?
It's like a little half break, but when you look at the picture,
all-
you think he's not scoring. There's
all
enough
I'm
there
thinking-
for Huddersfield to stop it.
All I'm thinking is, if he steps inside, Connor, the 3 or 4 men coming across should deal with him. Or the only thing Connor can't do is let him score in corner, because he has to come across and nail him. Throw everything at him and try and knock him into touch. And he doesn't. He lets him go for the corner. As he goes for the corner, he scores like Makinson does. What else is he meant to do? Connor just has to deal with the danger.
He's just got to tackle him, hasn't he? He's just got to put him in touch.
Now at 14 points to 0, Joe Greenwood gets a red card. Now this is it's been a bit controversial over the last couple of days on Twitter and social media, as most decisions usually get reviewed. Because Greenwood had the ball, Matty Lees comes in and is direct contact to the head.
Yeah.
Greenwood then pushes with like his forearm at Lees, and Morgan Knowles comes in with what at the time appeared to be a punch, semi-grab at the arm to pull him. Joe Greenwood gets the red card. Saints get a penalty. Nothing for Lees or Knowles. After the game, Matty Lees gets a 2-game ban, suggesting that he's done something wrong.
Yeah.
Joe Greenwood doesn't get banned. Morgan Knowles doesn't get banned, but they both get fined. Did they both get fined 250 quid or something?
It might have been something
For
like
retaliation. Now, obviously, Huddersfield are going to be happy that Joe Greenwood didn't get a ban. But they'll be
So
extremely...
even though he got a red card on field decision from the ref because the match review panel's reviewed it, it's not.
Yeah.
He'll miss no games.
Yeah.
He plays next week if
Yeah,
Watson
he plays
picks.
next week.
Okay.
So, how annoyed would you be as a Huddersfield fan? You go down to 12 men after 21 minutes or something like that. So you play 60 minutes against 13 men against the 4-time winning Super League team.
Perhaps erroneously, because the match review panel don't believe it's worth the suspension.
Yeah.
Even Shorrock's got 1 game.
Yeah, they don't. They think there's nothing wrong with it, so don't ban him. But
Which
the
he's
guy,
saying the ref has made an error, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he's saying that it's not a ban, well, the referee's
but
made
he's
a
not.
mistake.
He's not just made one error. He's made 2, because he didn't even penalise Matty Lees, who got a 2-game ban for a direct contact to the head.
Yeah.
So he's missed the direct contact to the head, then sent off a bloke that shouldn't have been sent off according to the match review panel. And Huddersfield have to play against 12 men. They've lost by 14 points, which was the starting score, the score at the time, against 12 men. The game was a draw. It was 14-0 when he got sent
You
off.
don't
They
know
won by
how the
14.
game would have
You
gone
don't know
if
how the game would
they
develop.
stuck with 13. You said before, if they still got 13 players on the pitch, Huddersfield can keep to their systems and their processes
Yeah.
and might lose by even more.
You don't know. And I know it's very tough, but you're looking at it going,
It's hard to
That's
beat
two-
12 men.
yeah. But there's two major issues there. He sent off Greenwood, and the review panel have said that there's nothing. It's a fine. Move on. And did not penalise Matty Lees, that's then got a 2-game ban.
Yeah.
That is just not. You can't do that. If this game was on Sky, Matty Lees gets a red card.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why it wasn't on TV, because there's only one game that was televised all weekend from the top division teams in the Challenge Cup final. Surely Sky could have put it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Played it on Thursday, whatever. It wouldn't have mattered. But how
Going
can
up
you-
against Super Sunday.
This process has also been made weirder in the fact that Saints appealed the Matty Lees 2-match ban.
Yeah.
It was a failed appeal,
And they got a £500
and they got
fine.
a fine for a ridiculous appeal, basically, isn't it? Where like it's a
Yeah.
It's called frivolous.
frivolous appeal.
Pointless
That's what
appeal.
Yeah, that's the word I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. But then I've actually rumour has it. I don't know if this has been confirmed
I think it has.
that they have appealed,
No, they've appealed the appeal and it's been failed as well.
and is that true? That has
Yeah.
happened.
But I
I
don't
saw
think-
stuff. I didn't know if it was true or it was just like hearsay and rumours.
So
St
he's-
Helens
so he's
put
been-
St Helens put some news out about it then went to a different independent 3-person body which upheld the original decision.
Yeah.
So
So they
2 games.
appealed the appeal. So when they appealed it the first time, they added a £500 fine on for Matty Lees.
Yeah.
They then appealed that appeal, and nothing's changed. They've still got the £500 appeal.
You just can keep appealing the appeals until one person finally says, "Oh, all right, you can play next week."
Yeah, you appeal it enough times, someone along the way is going to say, "Oh yeah, well actually."
Until you've got a meaningless
So you get
game,
a decision
or
you
until
want.
you can get suspended for the England Tonga series, and then you can say, "Oh, all right, okay, we accept the 2-match ban." He'll miss 2 tests against Tonga. What's the point of that? You gotta
It's just
have some punishment for keep appealing.
for me. Once they give the £500 fine for the appeal, it should be saying, "Listen, we think you were taking the mick appealing it in the first place." If you then want to appeal it again, why have they not added another game onto his ban? And I'm certain you used to get an added game on for a frivolous appeal, if they said that it was that unnecessary. That was the deterrent. You risk adding another game on, so do you just take your medicine?
If this was the thing, and you aren't getting an added game on, I don't know why Wigan haven't appealed the Cade Ellis suspension, because that doesn't look like a suspension to me. So if your risk is £500 and your reward is Ellis can play against Hull,
But the £500 technically should be paid by the player that's appealing it. So that £500 is automatically leaves his wages.
well, I don't think it really would be, but
I don't,
that doesn't
but-
matter. You budget for
Yeah,
things
it's
like
the club who appeal,
Yeah.
isn't it? The club appeals.
that. The
not
club would have
individual
budgeted
player.
for something like that, and it can
For
afford £500
£500
to have Matty Lees.
Yeah, but
That's not a deterrent to not appeal it, is it?
yeah.
'Cause
Well,
they-
then there's
and then appeal the appeal.
Well, it's not 1,000, is it? So there was only one £500.
Yeah.
So the appeal to the appeal was free.
Yeah. Like that's just
What's the point? What's the
How
point?
stupid
It's
does that
ridiculous.
sound?
It's
How
What a
stupid does that
stupid
sound when you
system.
say that? It just sounds so stupid. Oh, we fined you for appealing, but we've not fined you for appealing the appeal. Like, we make things so much harder for ourselves,
Yeah.
and we make ourselves look so stupid with things like that.
It's also not very transparent, is it?
No, but then this game for me was littered with some poor defence. There was
Yeah.
The Kevin Nguama try, where Lewis Dodd has actually took a little bit of stick on social media.
Unfairly.
Unfairly, in my opinion.
Unfairly.
Because
He's done his job.
he's sliding with the halfback. I
No
think it's lower
inside,
here.
no inside defence help at all.
Yeah.
For a young halfback to be blamed for that try, or a fullback, because a couple of people blame Wellsby, which was stupid anyway, because he's not going to stop Nguama. Nobody on earth
for
could
me-
stop Nguama from that.
This is the case. So,
Maybe Hardaker could have had a chance.
yeah.
No other fullbacks stopping Nguama there.
Yeah.
But they blamed Lewis Dodd for that when it's not his fault.
He slid with his man.
Shouldn't have that
who's
big a
running
big
across the line.
No,
If you're all sliding the right way, it should never be that. big.
No
It should've-
inside pressure
middle
from
of the
what
park.
I don't know who the forwards on the field were at the time, but whether that's Delaney, Lees, Knowles, whoever the forwards, no one slid across. So then you get stepped on the inside, and normally the inside defender would put the initial tackle in, and Dodd can join as the second man.
Yeah.
Instead, he's He stepped. He has to sort his feet out, turn, and he can't do it because Nguama's a clever centre. You're not going to stop him there.
No.
And Wellsby obviously makes himself look a little bit silly by sort of falling to the floor and
you're
arm
not
grabbing.
stopping him.
But Nguama 1-on-1 will beat most people.
You're not stopping him. I don't think there's any point blaming either of those two backs for that. It wasn't their fault.
But then this game, it gets to 24 points, 20 points to 18 before Lewis Dodd scores in the 76th minute and Jack Wellsby scores 3 minutes later with a minute left on the clock to extend that to 32 points to 18. I think Ian Watson can be happy, especially playing against 12 men with 12 men for so long. Some good signs at Huddersfield, but I don't think they're anywhere near the level that we expected at the start of the year.
No, and they're third bottom on points difference to level with Leeds. They've got to play Salford next. If they beat Salford, then they'll be level with Salford on 20 points. Only 2 off the playoffs. You wouldn't rule them out just yet because they are only 4 points off the playoffs. And 5th place to 10th place is only 4 points, separating those 6 teams. So you wouldn't rule them out just yet. It would have been nice for them to get this 2 points, given that it was against St Helens away and you wouldn't have expected to win that in round 1. So I don't know. I'm not ruling out Huddersfield just yet, but they need to win tomorrow.
There's a race going, isn't there, for that? Well, 5th and 6th
Well,
place.
we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about Wigan's position in the league.
Well, Huddersfield have still got to play Hull FC, Warrington, Hull KR, Leeds and Salford. The other 5 teams fighting for them for those 2 places.
So Huddersfield have got the upper hand.
If anything, it's in Huddersfield's hands because if they win those games, they can lose to Lee. But if they win 4 of those 5 games against their rivals, they probably get in the top 6. So
I was actually looking at Saints, who very Saints-like over the last couple of years have just managed to grind out a few wins after the loss of Parsi and Walmsley. They've beat Leeds, Salford and Huddersfield now. For Saints, I think they would have wanted this week off, having not got to the Challenge Cup. They would have wanted this week off. But they play Hull KR next week, who are coming back after a loss at Wembley.
yeah,
They're not playing a fresher team.
I don't know what to expect.
It'd be a very difficult one to predict that.
For Hull KR. I know what to expect from Lee this weekend, but I don't know what to expect from Hull KR.
I have got a little bit of a question having a look at Saints' fixtures. Why would you risk appealing that Matty Lee's ban when your next 2 games are Hull KR and Castleford?
Because then the third one is Wakefield.
Like, why would you risk banning him for 3 if you can have him for 2 for them?
You want Knowles back fighting fit for the last 3 games.
For Lee, Warrington,
Hull.
That's what I mean.
You want him fighting fit for those 3 games. The next 3,
They should win.
they should get through without him.
Although they've got to go to Wakey at Wakey.
He'll be back for that one anyway.
But Wakey at home. Form guide says the favourites though.
Wakefield home form. Yeah. I don't think Wakefield will ever be the favourites against St Helens.
I can't say that with a straight face.
Whether they're at home or not.
Now, shall we have a little talk about Wigan and Wigan's position this season? Obviously, after 21 rounds, we got to a Challenge Cup semi-final and lost in Golden Point. In the league, we are joint second with Saints and Lee on 28 points, but we sit second on points difference, which is superior by about 80. We have to go to Catalans, who are in first, 4 points clear, so there is still a chance for the League Leaders Shield if we can get a result there and Catalans drop a result somewhere else. If we were to get that League Leaders Shield, I think we would have to be perfect for the rest of the season.
We'd have to win all 6 of our remaining games, and we've got at least 3 tough games left.
Well, we've got Hull FC at home.
I think you know all the away games. We've got 3 really tough away games.
Catalans, Salford, Leeds away. Leeds may be out of.
But they might not be.
They might not be, but
You don't know what Leeds are going to get, do you? That's
there'll
the
be a
thing.
lot more depending on that then. Castleford at home and Lee away the last game of the season. Lee could be fighting to get a home semi-final. Castleford could be fighting to stay up. Leeds could be fighting to get the playoffs.
Yeah.
Salford fighting for the playoffs. Catalans will be thinking if they win that could give us a 6-point buffer and we can rest a few people before the playoffs. Hull FC is still fighting for the playoffs. Everyone has got a lot to play for in this position.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very tricky position to be in,
We've
really,
said
for us.
throughout this season, haven't we? How competitive this Super League campaign's been, and when you look at the remaining games now, you're thinking there's not one where a team won't ever turn up because the season's done with. They're not fighting. Every team's out fighting for a top six.
The only team that you thought was going to be done. The only team that you thought that was going to be done was Wakefield.
Yeah,
but they've dragged themselves back into it.
No,
Cass.
you're right there. Every single one of the 12 teams is still fighting for something.
Yeah.
There's not even any teams who are safe but not.
Like you said, the season's done with now.
No, there's not.
They'll get mid-table. They're not going to get a playoffs. They'll be kind of complacent.
All the teams who are
Cass
safe are fighting for the 6.
Yeah.
All the teams who are not safe are fighting each other, obviously, to become
just,
safe.
Cass Wakey. Imagine that went to Golden Point.
We're talking about Cass Wakey.
But no one scored. Sorry, but no one scored. They were both on the same points. Someone would have to get a win somewhere.
No, because then it would just go to points difference, and Wakefield's massive loss against Hull would put them lower.
Cass have had some horrible results.
So you mean if Cass draw with Wakefield and stay above them on points difference?
How interesting would that be?
Well,
Who can get beat by less?
It's a possibility.
so they draw this weekend. They draw tomorrow,
Can you park the bus in rugby league?
and then and then both lose all the remaining 5 games. But it's who loses by the most.
Because there's only 20 points difference between them. Cass are on minus 312 and Wakey on minus 334.
It's not going to happen, but that would be a very interesting idea. It's down to the last game of the season, and it's who gets beat by the fewest points stays up.
Could you imagine at Wakefield? Oh, Cass will lose it by 23.
They drop a goal down 40 to stay up.
Oh, that could be a really interesting point. Because they've both got tough teams to play. Cassie's running's horrible. After Wakey, they've got Saints, Wire, Hull, us, and Leeds. That's horrible.
There's a situation where you're winning by 6 in the last game of the season, but you need to win by 10 to stay up, and you let the other team score. Oh no, that wouldn't work, would it? You have to give them a 2 points.
How mad's that?
That wouldn't work. You're winning by 2, and you give a penalty away underneath your own sticks to take it to extra time, so you can win by 4 to stay up.
Oh, but let's get back onto Wigan. So we actually asked you guys on Twitter to give us your thoughts on the season so far. So I'm going to read through them. I will say who has put these tweets out, and we'll give our opinions on them. So a friend of ours, Cam James, has said it's been an okay year so far, inconsistent but still second in the league. It's a shame about Cooper and Havard. Reckon we would have been favourites if they'd been fit for the year. Add Ellis and Dupree with them two, and we'd have some pack. Byrne is going to need to step up after his rest this week. It is a shame, obviously, with Cooper and Havard. Havard has probably been our best prop when he's been on the field, in my opinion.
I agree.
Um,
I think, to be honest, Ellis might be second.
yeah,
for me.
I've been impressed with Dupree and what I've seen so far since he's joined the club. Byrne, and I'll admit I thought he was poor the last few weeks that he played, but he's been playing with an injury and hasn't been able to be rested because Ellis has been getting banned, and an injury, Havard's injury, Cooper's injury. He's the only one that's not got a rest, really.
It shows, doesn't it, like sometimes, don't get me wrong, we're 3 guys doing a podcast about it, we talk about player performances every week, but it just shows sometimes that people are straight to jump on, he's not good, he's not playing well, he's had a bad couple of games, whatever.
Drop him, and all he needs is to be dropped for a week.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but you don't know behind the scenes actually. Matty Peake, when he said he was playing with pain-killing injections for trying to literally get the team, and when that then comes out, you think actually, no, he's been doing a good, and if he's doing that for the club and the team. But obviously you don't know that, do you? So just sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
I guess that's why we're so lucky to have an open and honest head coach like.
Yeah, you sort of aware what's going on.
He does make he's a bit more honest. He does make you more aware of why some players are missing out or why some players perhaps are performing the way they are, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of coaches would just be tight-lipped and say, we're giving Byrne a week off. That would be the end of it.
Yeah.
Now, Ian agrees with Cam that losing Havard and Cooper is a massive loss, and that Dupree has helped. If the props can take another step up here after this week off, he doesn't see a reason that we can't win the grand final. I have to agree. I can't. I'm not looking at our squad saying we're missing something to get to a final and win it. I think we have the ability to. I think we have the ability in big games too. It's just whether we can perform at the right time and perform when needed.
Well, we've got people back. I mean, we're starting to. I mean, some performances we're having. I mean, I know Ian's mentioned the props and some of the performances that are coming in. Like you say, Dupree's helping out a bit. Kai Pearce-Paul against Warrington at home.
Yeah.
First game back, he was like a different animal altogether. Like if he can put in some more performances like that, then there's no reason forwards can't be competitive and, like you say, lay a platform to get us to the grand final.
Yeah. Now Alex has said that we've been inconsistent, but still in second place, which shows the potential that we've got in the squad. A really good Easter period has been significant with wins over the Saints, Warrington in that spell when we had a couple of injuries as well. Has been proved to be significant to where we are now.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other periods that have been significant.
Yeah, well, we've got some big wins.
I think the way we responded twice to back-to-back defeats, the way we responded to Hull and Leeds defeats by beating Leeds in the cup and then winning the next few games, the way we responded to losing to Catalan and Saints at Magic and away, I think those two, and actually the way we responded to losing the semi-final.
Yeah.
Very, very positive all three times. So I think
we've bounced back after.
We've bounced back 3 times, plus that excellent Easter period that Alex has mentioned. I think those have been. Well, those are the reasons we're at second place, because we haven't folded after we've lost.
We haven't gone on a 4 or 5 game losing streak. He also added that the inconsistency has probably been partly down to selection issues with injuries. But now that we're settled, we're in a position to build some momentum before the playoffs.
That's a fair point.
Now, I wanted to talk about Alex because he got a response from Rob, who is a Warrington fan. And I always think it's quite nice to have a look from a fan looking out inwards rather than...
We give our opinions on the other team.
Yeah.
So.
And he agreed with Alex. He said it's a fair assessment that Wigan look to be building a strong push now, the business end of the season approaching, and he agreed that Matty P sticking with what's worked now with French. I'm assuming that means with French at 6.
I think so as well. Miski on the wing,
yeah. Yeah, to not try and change it too much. We had a Leigh fan messaging Colin, who also said that Wigan are the form team. I actually...
It's Wigan or
Catalans for me.
Or Catalan. Well, Leigh could be the form team.
I wouldn't throw Leigh a million miles away.
Leigh could be the form team.
But he says Wigan are the form team for me, and we'll take some beating. Home advantage is going to be massive on the trip to Old Trafford.
The last 2 times we've been in the playoffs, home advantage hasn't really helped us.
But we imploded at
Salford and Leeds.
The Leeds one, I just think we completely imploded at the end of the
season.
But
whenever I see...
And French was on the injury down injured, and he didn't come off, and then played on the wing injured.
Yeah, French injury was big, and obviously we were missing Costa and Farrell in that game, but whenever I see the big away end full, and I think if you get some momentum, because obviously the 3 home ends don't sell so well in a playoff game, that's for any team who's playing at home. Whenever I see those big away ends, and I think a bit of momentum for them.
It gets loud at that end.
Yeah.
And you're attacking it like Leeds did.
Pressure starts to build on the home team.
Yeah,
the fans being a bit quieter and they can feel the tension.
Yeah. Now, Simon actually made a good point that we talked about off recording, that last year was meant to be the start of the rebuild after the Lamb spell, but we ended up winning the Challenge Cup, and there is a little bit of a feel that there is a big rebuild going on with the recruitment that we've done for this year and next season, bringing in Dupree now, but obviously Leeming, Walters and Tayaki Chan.
Yeah, and in terms of big names...
Yeah, Adam Kieran.
Yeah, but in terms of big names
being tied down.
They've been tied down. It's only Pearce-Paul that's going, really.
But that was announced last year.
But that was announced at the start of this year, so that's so far... and it seems to have been replaced quite well with Sam Walters. We're all big fans of Walters. So
and December coming through.
Yeah, and we've got December coming through, who's in a similar sort of mould. So I think.
But he ended that tweet.
That's the 3rd year of a 3-year rebuild, then, isn't it? Really.
He ended by saying that it looks like we're gearing up for a big year next year into 2024. But if we've got another gear to go up to, we could sneak a grand final.
I think that's a good point, and I think it is when we talk about rebuilding. I think you forget sometimes
about
the current squad and probably the average age of it. Do you know, like, I remember last season I watched the Lee Breers out of your league, and he made the point that squad was a very young squad, and I thought, actually, forget about that, because some of these young players have been around for a while. Your Harry Smith, your
Havertz
Morgan
only
Smithies,
23.
Ethan Havard. That's what I mean. You go through that
We
squad.
just-
Field's
yeah.
not that old.
We
French
just
isn't
swapped
really that old.
Brad
He's still
Singleton for
shit.
Dupree.
Dupree's now coming in, who's obviously young.
Our oldest prop is Mike Cooper.
There's only Farrell and Marshall, I think, off the top of my head, who you'd say is like
Marshall's not that
experienced
old.
players who's been round the block. You know, like
Sam-
for a
Sam
good
Powell.
while. Powell, sorry, yeah, as
Powell,
well, Sam Powell.
Powell
yeah, I
and
forgot about
Farrell are our old heads. And
Yeah.
Well, the Icer who's not played very
And
much.
Ice's not been into the squad, so we've had to again rely on young second rowers, December coming through and stuff. So when you take into account actually our squad, although the players have been around for a while, like they're young. They are. It's a young team, and that's why it's exciting. 'Cause if we're getting winning Challenge Cups now,
Liam Marshall's
second
only
place.
27.
Yeah, and that's it. And but you think
What
he's
would you
because he's been
yeah.
around for ages.
The,
hasn't he?
the
But
average age of our signings, if you want to include Tyler Dupree, Tiaki Chan's 23, Walter's 21 or 22,
Something like that, yeah.
even Kieran's only 26.
it seems like the vision the club's
Liam's
doing, isn't it?
27. isn't
Leaving
it?
27, 28. So yeah, we're signing players for the
Three,
next 3
3,
years.
4 years.
Definitely a building.
Which
task.
is when we've
It's
got-
exciting.
We've got what French and Field for another at least one,
Yeah,
Mm.
with a year for Field as well.
with a
We've
year
got
for
an option.
Field and 2 player option for French. Don't know if he'll take that, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what we have.
So yeah, well, I think while we've got those 2, if they both stay, which it looks like they will, that Jai Field to Catalan rumour seems to have gone away, doesn't it? That was a weird afternoon.
Just a couple more. Ethan says, I honestly think we've had a relatively good season, unlucky in some big games, and signings next year will be strong. A good chance of a league leaders shield. As we just said before, if we beat Catalan,
We need to win in
Yeah,
France.
so we've got to do a win in the south of France. I think
We've got to
for that
win all
happen, 'cause
our
I can't
games.
see Catalan slipping up twice if they beat us. I think we've got to beat them.
well, they'd have
but-
to. They got 6 points later. We have to lose 3.
Yeah, that's what.
I just can't see
yeah,
it.
if they beat us.
Did
yeah.
we get the League Leaders Shield in 2018?
We got it in 2020
I'm trying to
when
think.
we lost to
Actually-
Saints in the grand final.
2018, we won all our Super 8 games and the semi final and the final, and it was part of 13 wins in a row, and nobody ever did that. I just wonder if we won. We must have won. If we won 13 games in a row to finish the season, we must have won.
Another couple, I'll finish it off.
back.
Chris said that we've got 3 tough away games left.
Yeah.
We can't afford to drop off in tomorrow's game against Hull FC. I think starting
No.
this period is a key part to win. He said he thinks teams in the 5th and the 6th place in the playoffs will probably be miles off the top 4, which he thinks will be as it is today. So by that I'm assuming he means he thinks the top 4, whatever order, will be
Catalan,
Catalans,
Wigan, Lee,
Saints.
Saints.
Beating Catalans next week would be huge, as we know we can beat Saints and Lee when needed. We beat
I agree
Saints,
with
beat
that.
Lee.
To me, the team I don't want to play in the playoffs unless we turn them over in a couple of weeks' time is we know we can beat Saints, we know we can beat Lee. The one we've not beaten yet was Catalan. They beat
Yeah.
us in our own ground and they blew us away at Magic Weekend. We've not proven that we can do it this
See,
season yet against that.
I have
Catalan.
sort
So
of-
I will always back us. I would never say we can't. I know we can beat them, but we've just not shown it yet
Yeah.
on paper. So that's one
See,
I'm probably most
Catalans,
fearful of.
so the Magic game I have wrought off in my head because it felt like a complete implosion and everything just went wrong. And
It was a blip. if you
it was a
like,
big blip. The home game, very tough conditions.
Yeah.
Probably when you wanted to play Catalans, when they've got to come over and it's 2 degrees and it's freezing. But we didn't turn up that day either. I think we've got to turn up and put in a performance. I wouldn't mind if we lost, as long as we put in a top performance.
We always just seem to struggle. I'm not trying to jinx anything next time I've got him, but we always just seem to. I've not got good.
We weren't
Memories
great
of
there last year.
We had a previously decent record.
We had an okay record. I remember beating them in that 2018 run I just mentioned, where we won all our Super 8 games.
Gildart scored a blinder, didn't he,
Yeah,
down
we
left?
just dominated them from start to finish. I don't remember winning easily so many times there, though. Obviously, they dominated us at New Camp. That was a great day to
We can beat
yeah.
Catalan in the south of France.
I think teams will be scared of playing us.
I think that shows that we could go on to. I think we can win a grand final if we lose. I'm never going to not
Yeah.
back us off, but I think that'll just boost my confidence. It's like we know we can beat any team we play now. We've beaten Saints, we've beaten League, we've beaten Catalan, we've beaten Wire. Do you know what I mean? We know we can beat these teams.
Yeah.
Now, the last one on this was from Jesse.
But we got a win tomorrow, though. before.
Just win
Yeah,
next
of
week.
course we have. Yeah, we have.
I would be happy with Wigan taking the match.
just whilst we're talking about grand finals
Yeah.
and semi and
my
stuff
mantra
like
is
that.
just
Yeah.
win next week. It don't
Of course
matter.
it
It
is,
don't
yeah.
matter whether you're going to win in 4 weeks' time or not. You can't win in 4 weeks' time if you don't win this week.
Yeah.
Win this week, and then we can deal with Catalans next week.
Yeah, it's just because they're talking about grand
Yeah.
finals and
Now, last one was from Jessie. She said, only recently found a bit of true consistency in the team. We need to build on that and keep it going into the playoffs. I think that's just spot on.
yeah.
We get that form, get winning, keep winning. That's our best thing. Just keep winning.
Yeah.
More games you win, better we are going to be in the long run. Now, we also asked for a few questions, really, a couple of weeks ago about the players and the team in general. So I'm going to pick a couple to ask, and I'll ask you at the end. First one was best player of the season so far. An awful amount of people going Bevan French and Jai Fields. When he's been fit, French, they seem to be the two names that keep popping up in that response from everyone that has responded.
I think French has been our best player.
One person to be fair has gone Jake Wardle. I can't argue with that. I've been very impressed with
It's
him.
very underrated for me, Jake Wardle. Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
I did
because-
write down my answers to these. Hang on, let me find them.
And
Go on. What can
Someone
you give me?
outlined-
Sorry, can you give me all the categories and I'll make a note of who I would say?
yeah, of course
Sorry.
I can.
Go
So
on,
it
give me
was
the categories.
it was your we started off with best player. For me, I don't think you can look much further away, in my personal opinion, than Harry Smith.
Oh, Harry Smith.
I was going to go Harry Smith because he's led that team. He's been the steady halfback. He's played that position every week. French has had to do it from different roles, starting on the wing, starting on the at full back, then going into the halves. Harry Smith has had to be the consistent player.
When we started this podcast, we did that hybrid thing, didn't we? Where French started on the wing and then moved to full back after a
he's
while.
been the consistency. He's
Right.
been the one that has brought it. So, who would you go best player?
I'd have to go French, probably, I would say.
Mm.
I think he's done a job in different positions this season. He stepped into this role, they're asking him to do a job at 6, and he's done that. But, I mean, he's got the flashy and all the star stuff, but I think also when called upon for him to go and do a job, like say at 6, he's gone and done it. So, yeah, I'd go French.
Our next one, sorry, was who's been the biggest surprise for you this year. I'll give you a moment to think about it. We've got a wide range of answers. Toby King,
So the biggest surprise in terms of who has been
who's performed better than what you would have expected.
Brad O'Neill.
I'd go Brad O'Neill. I just thought that, yeah.
Brad O'Neill. I didn't
How
think he
many
would,
games he's got to play it now?
yeah,
because
exactly.
Daryl's injury,
I didn't
he's
think
done
he would play
fantastic.
every game, which he probably played most of the games, and he's been fantastic.
He's done 80 minutes as well for some of
Yeah,
them.
A lot of people have picked a Bas Miski,
Yeah. Fair.
as no one was expecting to play
that's
that many
true. Yeah,
games.
that's a good
Yeah,
one as
that's
well.
a fair.
We've got a lot that have said Havard, when he's been fit, has took his game to another level.
Yeah. Fair
Um,
assessment.
a call of Toby King and Cade Ellis. Cade Ellis has surprised a lot of people in
yeah.
the way that he's improved. Harvey Hill, get a mention. But Brad O'Neill, again, I'd have to agree with you guys and say
He's been fantastic. hasn't
he's been fantastic in the way that he's took over from Sam Powell during his injury.
Mm.
Another one that's just got a mention that I'd just seen was Joe Shorrocks during that period where he played in the halves.
That
Yeah.
was a surprise. Yeah,
It was definitely a surprise. But our next one was a breakout star, someone who's sort of took a bit of the limelight that we weren't expecting.
a breakout star.
Yeah, and a lot of people have gone, again, a Bas Miski, that he's cemented his place on the wing.
Mm.
A few mentions of the young lads, O'Neill, Harvey Hill, Junior December. I don't think any of them could be criticised, really.
Well, December was the first name that come to mind because I gave Brad O'Neill the last one, so
Yeah.
I'd probably go December.
I think for the same reason that I gave O'Neill the big surprise. I think for a breakout it would be Miski for me. I know he had a lot of tries last year as a backup,
But he was a backup.
but as a backup, yeah, I think that this time he's taken his chance. He's scored a lot of tries. He's finished everything. So finishes them for breakfast, as Toby King says.
Yeah,
His
eats them
inside
for breakfast.
His inside partner.
Now, not one here that you can pick a lot of options from.
Okay.
The best signing of the season. A lot of people, in fact, I think
There's an obvious answer here.
there's a couple of throw-ins that have just thrown me. Best signing, a lot of people have gone Obviously, Jake Wardle.
Yeah.
Jake Wardle's the obvious answer, I think.
I've been mega impressed with him.
Yeah.
A couple have said Tyler Dupree.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In terms of importance, I can understand that really because now with the Havard injury and Cooper being out, Dupree's helping us lead the line really. And been a major star, but Jake Wardle has been a brilliant signing. I wouldn't have had any complaints at Toby King on the right hand side. He's had to make a few changes. He played on the wing a bit at the start when French was moving around.
I think Wardle has had a marginally better year than King, only just.
But I don't think he's
also the
so
fact that,
consistent.
I think the
for
fact
difference.
that he's consistent, but I also think the fact that we've got him long term.
Yeah,
is-
everyone knows Toby King has got a mistake
Yeah,
in him.
no,
as well.
everyone knows Toby King's not going to be a Wigan player next year.
Yeah.
So I think it's that we got Wardle long term. It's a better deal for us, I think.
Now the next one I asked, and I'm going to go through some of the games to remind you because there was some of these games I'm reading have really gone. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Was the best win that we've had. So there's the obvious ones. Good Friday, Warrington away to end the March Cup charge. Saints Good Friday again comes up. Good Friday has come up an awful lot. Warrington away. Beating Lee away.
Just because of how we played, that's the one I went with.
Yeah.
Beating Lee away.
Ethan said Lee Leopards away. Best that we've played.
I think it is.
Best win Leeds away. In the Challenge Cup.
Yeah. That was a good win.
Was that
After
the
the
last
bounce
16?
back. After the bounce back
Yeah.
and losing to him in the league.
It'd been
the game
14-0
before.
down, yeah.
Yeah.
Saints Good Friday comes up again. Warrington away.
I think Warrington in the cup as well when we
I
went
was
down
just-
to 12 men for the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
game. That was a good win.
Thanks, pal. Just stole me thunder. I was going to say one that's not got a mention has to be, for me, the Challenge Cup down to 12 men.
Well, that has got mentioned because I just
I
mentioned
know,
it.
thanks, pal.
But
Just
yeah,
steal me thunder.
I think the answer for me would be Lee away.
I think for me it would be why you away. Because we played Saints on the Good Friday week, and I think there were so many excuses we could have used to lose
Yeah.
that. We were busted. It was an intense game. We just ran out of juice at the tank, and we didn't. We went to a wire team who were 8. I think we were the 8 from 8 at that
Yeah.
point, or something like that.
They'd won it all.
In their own backyard, and to beat them after beating Saints the week before in a big game, and to perform like we did, I thought was the biggest. I'd say.
Okay, just last two before we move on. Okay. Favourite try? Whether that's because of how we celebrated it or because of the brilliance of it, I'm just going to read a couple out. Jarfield under the sticks against Lee
Yeah.
with this big step, right foot step to get under the sticks.
Yeah.
Miskey's Hull KR try away to send it to Golden Point.
Yeah.
Also worth a mention, Liam Farrell's Golden Point try to win that game.
Yeah.
French versus Lee at home. Field when we played Saints away. Ethan has said Field at Wakefield away. Must have been
Off
from-
the kick.
Oh, the
off
full
the
length,
kick,
yeah.
full length of the field.
Yeah.
Miskey getting another mention multiple times for his last minute try at Hull KR. Bevan
I'm-
French
Go
at
on.
Warrington. Against Warrington.
Bevan French against Warrington. I don't remember that.
I can't remember that one. That's thrown me.
Must have been a good try. I think I'm going to go with a Miskey try, but I'm not going to go with the Hull KR one. I'm going to go with. I might share this award because Miskey scored 2 tries in the same game. Lee away. So Lee away.
It's the last minute when he runs down that tunnel.
Oh no! Well,
Runs
that
out the stadium.
yeah. So the one in the last minute where we had a chip over the top from Smith to French, who instantly caught it and kicked it for Miskey, who scored in the corner and ran down the tunnel. Yeah, but also his first try in that game. I'm such a big fan of big block plays, as you know,
Yeah.
big right to left shifts, and we played a right to left shift where all our ball players touched the ball.
Yeah.
And we must have gone from dummy half. I don't know who passed it out from dummy half, but it must have gone like Smith, Field, French out there onto the left, and then Miskey finished it.
Yeah.
I think it was on the left anyway. Yeah, that was the try for me.
I'm going to mention one now because I remember our response after this try and I completely forgot about it. Junior in December in the cup
Oh, of course, yeah.
when he takes the short ball
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Is it Harry Smith who gives him the short ball?
Gives it a short, but it's like a cut out. He misses the one man and goes to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
centre
that was
and
a
the
great
first ball.
and the
crashes through.
celebration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To win that. And Jake Wardle's has got to mention at Warrington, really set that momentum up where he ran a great line.
I think one I'm going to mention, don't know if it was my favourite, but just one that's not which I thought deserves a bit of credit. The one the other week against Warrington, Harry Smith on the 5th doesn't kick, feint, steps out, gives it to Farrell.
Yeah.
I was just thinking in that moment, every single player made the right decision.
Yeah.
Smith gave to get the lovely little soft hands and swish pass from.
But that was in Warrington's
Smithers.
bit of banter stage.
No,
So
I
couldn't really consider
no, I
Warrington as
agree. I think Lewis is.
I just think
I agree.
it's the bit because every single player in that like split made the correct lovely little the Farrell to give the ball to Wardle early, Wardle to throw the dummy, get the full back, and then pass it in the inside to, was it French who scored it, I think, at the end.
Yeah, I think
But I think that one I was just going to watch that, was like, that was brilliant.
Oh,
team
Ben
try.
French against Warrington. That was the try then.
Yeah, that must have been it.
So,
There you go.
right, yeah, so is that the one that's been mentioned, yeah.
Not a nice one. Your lowest moment of the season. Only a couple of people have picked the same as what I would go for this.
Okay.
And this is because of the sheer the conversation that me and you, Matty, had after the game.
I think I know it.
It was Wakefield away.
Yeah, I
when we
was
lost
gonna
in
say,
Golden Point.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't heard us talk about it, as the Golden Point was over, you tried to walk away because you didn't want to look at the pitch. And then as you got to the exit, turned around and realised that I hadn't moved. I was stood with my head on my hands, my hand on my head.
That would have been impressive, yeah. But yeah.
Just staring at the pitch, shaking my head because I was distraught after that loss.
3 times I tried to move him.
And I didn't want to listen to anyone.
I might as well have tried to move St Paul's Cathedral.
But
He just stood still watching the pitch, watching Will Dagger celebrate.
But the other couple that have been mentioned,
Losing the semi-final.
Must have been the semi-final.
the
Yeah.
semi-final
semi-finals.
and the Magic to Catalans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Magic Weekend.
Yeah, Magic.
Obviously, always losing to Saints away is a gutting moment. But
Yeah, I think we were beaten quite handily in that game. I think the Catalan one was a big shock because of how easy it was for them to score.
yeah, we didn't turn up.
And then
the
the
semi-final,
the two
because of
golden
the
point.
Shorrocks moment.
Yeah, the 2 golden point moments.
It felt like everything had
Never
gone
nice
against
to
us.
lose in Golden Point, is it? It's a gutting feeling.
I think that probably for me it would be the Wakefield one.
Yeah, I thought losing to Wakefield away was the, especially how much we were slagging Wakefield off at the start of this season on this podcast.
Another one that I completely forgot about: losing to Leeds at the home. When they
Yeah,
went down,
yeah.
Did they go down to 12 men?
Yeah, and they battered
That
us
was
in
back
second
when we were
half.
winning
Blake
easily.
Austin had game of his life. Just turned into like prime
Darren
Jonathan
Lockyer.
Thurston.
Oh, Jonathan Thurston, yeah.
Just bossed that game. That was gutting. I forgot about that. Thanks
Yeah,
for
that
reminding me
was
of that.
Lewis mentioned it before.
Right, that wraps up our review of the season so far.
Oh, you finished on the lowest moment.
yeah, obviously.
Oh.
Because then whatever happens now, it can't be as bad as
Well, I'll tell you
Leeds
what,
at
let's
home.
flip it. I'm going to add a new one. Let's add a new one.
Yeah, add a new one,
So we've done best try, best moment.
Best moment.
I'll give me mine because I thought about this the other time. French's tackle on Tommy Makinson on Good Friday.
yeah, that was good.
Yes.
That would have been my moment of the season. That was
I did some screaming at that in the.
I'm
the
going to pick
in the
another
house.
French tackle.
It could be
St.
the
Lucia.
biggest win, didn't we? So.
I'm going to pick another French tackle, and it was French at home against Warrington in the Cup when he absolutely flattens Cassiano.
Yes, he picks him up and dumps him.
Yeah, that
And
was good.
we were down to 12 men, and at that point I thought momentum swinging here because we'd played very conservative and pinned them in corners and whatever, and it felt like they'd got a bit of a roll on. And that moment that French nailed Cassiano and then stood up over him, and it took Cassiano
Same game.
10 seconds to get up and try and play the ball and whatever, it just felt like
Peter
We're in
Matoti
this.
has matched Lewis in forward pass.
Honourable mention for me as well for Big Sexy getting his first try against OKR the other day, that being Paddy Mago.
Right, so
He's avoided the naked rule.
I'm up for Big Sexy getting his first try,
Can we have to appreciate the fact that he's now nicknamed Big Sexy as well, by the way.
but I also
just tell him that next time we see him.
Yeah.
I want to also give some credit to Big Sexy for that game when he jumped in at 9 when Cuss got tackled and he jumped in at 9,
He's like a ball playing now.
set up a try and then give it the J Field finger point to the crying celebration. Like, yes, it's all me. I've just set up a try.
Oh,
Yeah, good
right.
on him. That was the best game of his Wigan career. That.
Definitely. Right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to fly through the NRL because that's took far longer than we meant to,
Yeah, whatever.
and then do our predictions for the last
Quickfire
round.
predictions.
And it will be quick fire, I promise.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
So the NRL, there's been a little bit going on in the background of all these teams, but we're going to start off on Thursday. Manly hosted the Penrith Panthers. Penrith, the first game that since Cleary returned about 6-7 weeks ago, that they've not really been at the fluent best, but they were still far too strong for a Manly side that just, without Tom Trbojevic, don't look like they could compete for the top 8.
Yeah, Manly are. They're not great. They're not a great side.
Have you guys seen a team been so different when they've lost one player?
I don't think I have.
Because Tommy Turbo plays, they look like a top 4 team. They could win it all. When he doesn't play, they look like they might not even make the 8. They're probably not going to make the 8.
No, they won't. I don't think I've ever seen a team so reliant on one.
He's the most influential player on his team
Mm.
compared to anyone. Like, Latrell misses Rabbitohs. They don't drop off this much.
Even Cleary, when
Cleary
misses it.
They didn't
Yeah.
drop off that much.
Well, Penrith, to be fair, showed the class, didn't they? Because when Cleary went, everyone thought that was going to be a really tough time. And they got through it very strongly. And obviously, they won this game, and I think for more majority of people, they're probably favourites go on and win the comp again, aren't they? Now,
Yeah.
fair enough form, and they just look unbeatable in
I think
ways.
they'll be on for 3 in a row, definitely.
I hope not. 'Cause
You
they
can't-
let- they let Saints win.
You just can't
World
see
Cup
them.
challenge.
You can't see them not making the final, which will be 4 finals in a row.
I know. It just
So I think they're odds on for 4 finals in a row. Whether they win 3 in a row, I don't know, because they obviously won the last 2.
Yeah.
But I think they're just so strong.
Yeah, so strong and a good win for him.
now, Cronulla played the Gold Coast Titans. The Titans still have a chance of getting the top 8, but they've lost 36 points to 6. The Sharks 4 weeks ago, we said they were out with it. They lost to the Warriors, Manly, and Penrith, and looked dreadful in them losses.
The Sharks are back.
And the Sharks have come back. They beat the Rabbitohs, beat the Titans. They've won today, even though this is next week's games, but they've won again against the Cowboys today, and they're looking like a top side again that are defending really, really well. Not good enough from Gold Coast if they want to be a top 8 team.
Yeah, it's interesting about all the sacking of Holbrook when they were level on points, and now they're in 13th. So, and they're 6 points off the 8. So I don't know whether or not that was the right choice, but we'll have to wait and see. They clearly have to play a lot better than this if they want to finish in the top 8.
Yeah, I can't see them making top 8 now.
And if they do, they're not going to trouble anyone in finals.
No, I don't
No,
think
they
so.
won't. They won't.
Right. Now I'm going to get to say it. They always say it on the commentary. Parramatta have lost 54 points to 10. No team ever in the history of Aussie Rugby League has ever won the comp if they conceded 50 during the season. So that effectively writes off Parramatta.
But it also writes off Melbourne, which is
Did it write Melbourne off?
Melbourne
I
got.
thought they were only 40.
Melbourne got 50 put past them by Cowboys, didn't they? Cowboys have put 50 on them and put 70 on the Tigers this year.
No, they only put
Tigers
45
put
on
60
against.
on there.
They only put 45 on
I
against
know.
Melbourne.
I know that was the in between the Tigers, but
Yeah, so they only put 45 on the Melbourne Storm, so
Oh,
that
did-
keeps them in.
or did they?
Yeah,
But
Bris-
Melbourne put 50 on the Sharks the week after, so
it's just mad. But that's the saying over there that if you concede 50 during a season, you can't win the comp. But how good are Brisbane? They're
looking
so
them.
Paynas, Pat Carrigan, Aaron Reynolds, Reece Walsh, Ezra Mann. What's the name of the second rower on the left hand side?
Capewell.
Kurt Catewell, Jordan Rickett, the other second rower, brilliant.
They've got class all over the field, haven't they?
One lad I do want to mention, he's probably gone under the radar and it's probably helped his development. Billy Walters, son of Kevin Walters, a Brisbane legend.
Yeah.
Played in the halves, never really made it. Played a bit at 13, didn't make it. He's been thrown in at 9 in the last 18 months, and he has really developed into a top hooker.
So much so that when Ben Hunt was available, they said, well, maybe we don't get Ben Hunt because
Yeah, they were talking of getting him.
it would hamper Billy Walters to going to the very top, which they think he could.
Yeah. Brisbane have also signed Payne-Haas up for $1.2 million
That's
a year.
Oh, is that a done
For
deal?
a prop forward, that's a lot of money, but it
He's a
keeps him
comp-
in our code, doesn't it? And
He's
the
a
other
comp
option was
winning
Rugby
prop
Australia.
forward. He's a comp winning prop forward because he plays 70 minutes every week.
Yeah.
Could play 80, but you just give him a rest.
And the Wallabies can keep their grubby hands off him.
Who
Exactly.
was it who's come out? One of the Australian pundits and they've said, well, if props are going for 1.2 million, like, I think I can't remember what player it was. I think it was an half-back. He went, well, Nico Hine or like something like that must be worth them in 2 now. I said, oh, like Latrell must be worth 3.
I think
props are going for 1.2.
Well, I think Latrell is the one, isn't it? Oh no, Reece Walsh.
So
Reece Walsh is going to be the first 2 million
Latrell-
player. Gotta be.
Latrell is technically a £2 million player, $2 million player if you consider his sponsorship deals.
Yeah, well, we can't consider that. It's what the Rabbits will actually pay, which
Yeah.
is 1 point,
I think it's 1.3.
1.4, 1.3. I think if anyone gets 2 million, it'd be Reece Walsh.
I don't know
Not
if he was
Cleary?
being serious to fair. I was just having a laugh because he was saying
I'm
like,
gonna
prop
throw another
forwards
name.
being on stupid money and he's
He'd
having a
probably-
dig at
yeah.
prop forwards to
He'd probably sit in
just
next
a funny.
to James Graham.
Yeah.
James Graham will sit next to him.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna quickly throw. You said Reece Walsh could be the first $2 million player, not Nathan Cleary.
From what I remember, Cleary's got 2027 contract.
Someone comes in offering big money.
I don't
How
know
much?
what it
How
is.
much would he be worth to?
Penrith aren't going to let him leave. He doesn't want to leave Penrith, probably. Well, his dad's the coach.
Dad's coaching.
Well,
yeah.
West have just said they're going to try and sign Ivan Cleary so they can get Nathan on.
They
a
had
free.
that chance. They already had
Oh,
Ivan Cleary
blew it.
once. They blew it. But I think the only reason I didn't say Nathan was because he's already on a long contract.
Yeah.
And I think Walsh will be up in his contract soon before Nathan. Yeah.
I don't disagree. There's already talks of Walsh going onto a big contract.
Yeah, he
commanding
deserves
over,
it.
commanding over $1 million. It's just mad that I did when you say that out loud.
He deserves $1 million.
Right, the Bunnies got back to winning ways.
Yeah, about time.
They
They've been
beat-
struggling, the Bunnies.
Yeah, other than the win against West Tigers, where I could get a team to go and beat them.
Later, King Billy.
Yeah. They'd lost to the Bulldogs, lost to Brisbane, lost to the Sharks. A spirited performance from the Dragons, really. Sticking into this game for a long period of time. But the Rabbitohs win 26 points to 14.
Yeah, they made a bit of hard work of it, but in the end, they had a bit too much just for the Dragons.
Yeah. Our favourite try scorer, Alex Johnston, just point out he was on 2 tries after 8 weeks. He's now on 19 after round 24.
Yeah, but didn't Dom score again?
Yeah, it's them two still competing at the top.
Dom scored again, didn't he? So
Yeah. The West Tigers hosted the Warriors. The Warriors won 30 points to 22. But I was really impressed with West Tigers for once because it felt like they stuck in this game for 80 minutes.
this was in New Zealand as well, but it was technically a West Tigers home game.
Yeah. They got off to a slow start. The first 15 minutes they were down by 12. But they really did stick in this game and created a bit of a nuisance for themselves. Because I'm going to skip ahead 2 games and talk about Newcastle Canterbury. Newcastle beating the Bulldogs 42 points to 6, and after 5 minutes, it looked like the Bulldogs just hadn't turned up. This was the strongest Bulldogs team they've put out all season, and it looked like they didn't turn up after 5 minutes. I'd be really disappointed because St George, the West Tigers, and the Bulldogs are fighting it out at the bottom. The West and St George are really making a nuisance of themselves. They're finding a reason to play.
I think West especially, I can remember a couple of games where they've been close but they've lost. Whereas the Canterbury tend to get, like you say, they've been blown away on numerous occasions. And I know the West have been blown away as well, on but I don't think on many. I think there has been close games
Just thinking these last...
that they've lost it by like less than 10
I
points
think
or
you've
whatever
got-
they've been in it.
I think you've got a point there. I'm just looking at the table. Wests have conceded 566 points, which is a lot. It's only a bit more than Canterbury who are in 6th. Canberra, sorry. But West's 566, St George 585, Canterbury have conceded 657.
Yeah,
So almost 100 points more for a team 2 places below them. And they've only scored 20 more points. So actually their points difference is 80 worse than West's. So your point there, Lewis, where you say when they lose. That's true for Bulldogs.
The
Definitely.
Bulldogs got off to quite a tight start, didn't they? Like they beat Melbourne by 14. They beat the West by 4 points. They lost by 2 to the Warriors. Won by 1, and then it went downhill. That's where the wheels sort of flew off. I just think when you're at the bottom of the table, and over there they're not fighting for anything because they can't get relegated. You have to find a reason to try and get players in the off season, to stand up and prove that you want to play for that club. And the West and the Dragons are doing that. They're fighting for every point. They're trying to get another win. This was very, very poor from the Bulldogs. And I don't want to take away from the Knights because they're a quality team. And I think we'll make the top 8. And in the top 8, I think they can beat anyone because they've got Kalen Ponga.
Well, they're currently 7th, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which would see them going to Geo Stadium in Canberra. Definitely beat Canberra.
They could do. Last 2 games, because we'll talk about Canberra in a second. The Roosters played the Dolphins. The Dolphins actually got off to the better start. 36 minutes, they were winning 8-0, and then they conceded a soft try with like a minute to go, and they go in at 8-6.
I always knew with the Dolphins it was going to be a long gold season, even after they made an excellent start, just because squad depth was so thin.
Well, this is I mentioned this in a previous time. When things go wrong for the Dolphins, it goes very, very wrong. They conceded just on the stroke of half time, going at 8-6 up. They concede after 5 minutes. 2 minutes later, Ray Stone gets a yellow card, and by the time he's back on the field, they're now losing 24 points to 8.
Stone Cold, that was the first game back as well.
They then concede again, get back into an arm wrestle and concede, and they score with 4 minutes left. In the time that they were 13v13, they'd have only lost by 4 points. It would have been 18-14. That 10 minutes that they were down to 12, they give the ball up, they conceded possession, give up penalties, and it just seemed to just unravel for 10-15 minutes. But a strange one in this, the Hammer playing centre. Play
Still
full-back
with
instead,
According to
Kareem.
Kareem into that full back they've got.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks they've done.
Yeah, since Origin really, they never really moved him back to centre. I think that's just a way of getting Cody into the game.
Well, Cody was great in that period when the Hammer was playing Origin.
And I get
Obviously,
keeping him at
The
centre.
Hammer at centre in Origin was my player of the series. I know he didn't win it, but it was my player of the series. Got 5 tries in 3 games. So I think.
But I get why they kept him at centre, because you don't want to move your full back and then
Yeah, there's an
swap
argument,
again the week after
There's an
and whatever,
argument for not swapping
over the Origin period. But he has to go back to full back. He was brilliant.
I don't know. I think. Well, one man who'll know is Wayne Bennett, won't he? He's not like he's not like he's lacking any experience.
Now, the last game, the Raiders have avoided this the comment of conceding 15 you can't win the comp, but they lost 48 points to 2
Yeah, they were 2-0 up.
against the Melbourne Storm.
They were 2-0 up before you could accuse them of going for a terrible penalty goal. They were 2-0 up.
Yeah, and again, tries in clusters. It was 6-2 for a long time. 30th minute, the Storm score. They scored 4 minutes later, then scored 4 minutes again after that. From being 6 points to 2 at 28 minutes, they go in at half time 20 points to 2 down. They then concede tries again in clusters on the 50th minute and the 55th. Concede in the 66th, 77th, and then again on the full time whistle, just conceding too many points back to back to back. They were also down to 11 for a spell for the last try, with Timoko getting a yellow card with a minute to go. A little bit annoying, but I just can't see the Raiders winning, as Andrew said last week.
Well, they're
points difference.
They're sandwiched in between a team on 110 points difference and 127 points difference. So they should be between those two numbers.
Somewhere around that score.
They're on minus 120.
230 worse off than the teams around them.
That doesn't make any sense.
They've got too many blowout scores in them. When they lose big.
And when they win, it's within 6.
Yeah.
Usually.
Lost to the Warriors by 12. I don't want to go through this again, but lost nearly 30 to the Seagulls, 40 to Penrith. They had a couple of Golden Point losses, and then lose by 46 to the Melbourne Storm. That can't win you a comp. Being able to implode like that can't win you a comp. Now, the last bit of news for the NRL is the movement of Tim Sheens from the West Tigers. Brought in to replace Madge at the end of last season and set up Benji Marshall being ready for the coach in 2-3 years' time. They've decided to part ways with Tim. And it's another new coach.
There's a few people saying this was Tim Sheen's idea. Not sure I buy that.
I don't buy that.
No, I don't buy that.
I don't buy anything that the West Tigers CEO says.
Tim was.
He was in it for the long haul.
Yeah, he was in this for the project for the long
Because he
term.
loves the West Tigers.
Yeah.
and he was mentoring Benji, and all these things that come with it. To then let him go like that, and basically say "see you later" to him.
A legend of the game like Tim Sheens, you don't just reject him out of hand.
Not when you've already let go of Maguire. You let go of the head coach before that. You had the issues with Ivan Cleary.
Haven't you?
Well, you've messed up and he's gone to the Panthers and now produced the best roster in the comp. Why is no one pointing the finger at the owners and the CEO? It seems like it comes up every so often, and then it just disappears and he's off the hook.
Well, they did a documentary, didn't they, about
Tales of Tiger
Tales of
Town.
Tiger
What a
Town.
stupid thing to do.
and it just made them look incompetent and ineffective, and it led you to think that the coaching staff were onto a hide into nothing. No, I don't think any of that's changed.
No.
Well, I remember seeing, this was a good while ago, it was when Aaron Woods first left the West Tigers, so I'm going back years, but it actually showed a graphic. They said, why did you leave? And he went, the club's just, there's a lot of inconsistency around the club. And it showed a graphic of players who've played for the West Tigers, but obviously didn't anymore. And the people that are on that roster, Tedesco was on there, he's the first one that comes to me, and you went
Mitch
down
Moses.
you went down this
not
graphic of
kept
players, and you're thinking there's some good players there, and now all those have moved on, and the consistency, I think, not just in terms of performances, but actually the running of the club, keeping all of your players, sorting out your contracts, getting consistent with a coach.
How can you
just
let
can't.
How can you let
Can't
Mitch
get
Moses
consistent.
go and keep Luke Brooks on $1 million?
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's easy to say you don't know what they're going to be like in the future, but this isn't just one. You let Tedesco go. They had Josh Adokar, and he went to the Storm. You just now Luke Brooks is leaving.
Yeah.
He's going to Manly.
A lot of people are just left, they had Ryan Matheson, who just left early out of his
Went to
contract.
Parramatta.
Yeah, to
That
Parramatta.
after a jaw off a Hengai, is it?
We signed on big money and then left.
Pretty soon.
Layla was... he went to Featherstone.
Yeah.
Joey Layla, didn't it?
Yeah, and his brother went to
Cowboys.
the Cowboys. At what point do people start turning on the CEO and saying, listen, you can just keep sacking coaches and getting an immediate response and then they fall off again? You need a director of rugby that is setting up this youth development, because clearly you can produce talent.
And also, they're in a hotbed, so they're going to get talent, but also there's no threat of relegation like their namesakes in this country. So you can give a coach time. You can give young players time.
The problem is now, though,
You
if
can
they've been
give-
giving time for the last 6 years. We're giving Maguire, we're giving Cleary time, and then they lost him. And I can't remember who the intermediate in between him and Madge were, but then they gave Madge 2 years, and then fired him off for Tim Sheens. And now Tim Sheens has gone. If you're a fan, you're saying we've been on a rebuild for the last 6 years, and
Why
now you
not keep him in the club somewhere? Like saying the director of rugby, Tim Sheen's got all that experience,
Well,
who's been there and done it. Why not keep him on at the club
So
in a different position?
They brought Tim Sheens in while Maguire was in charge to be a director of rugby. And then, 6 months later, got rid of Maguire, who was, from all understanding, working okay with Tim Sheens, and replaced the head coach with the director of rugby and didn't fill the director of rugby role.
Ridiculous,
It just doesn't... Decisions that don't make sense to me. At least, I think, with the Bulldogs, they've settled on what they're doing. They're going to stick with Seraldo, Gus Gould as the director. They're at least sticking with the same thing, whether you would like them or not.
Warriors have backed Webster.
Webster and...
The West had Webster at one point as well.
yeah, they lost him.
They had Webster
Didn't
and
they have
Hyman
Pascoe
playing.
as well?
Pascoe? He's
Yeah.
still there, isn't he? CEO? You know
Oh, not Pascoe, sorry. The guy who's at Melbourne now. The assistant coach at Melbourne. Oh, his name's gone.
Well, anyway, Cleary and Webster were on the coaching staff at the same time, and they've let them both go.
And they've ended up now in a situation where they've had to go to Benji Marshall, a coach. If you want to have the similarities with... They've got a lot of things to sort out in the background. Warrington. They've got to sort a lot of things out with the club. Have gone for a legend who's never been a head coach before.
But they haven't got with him Tim Sheens, who was coached that team for 270 games. And
In 2 spells.
in 2 spells, yeah. But he was there for 10 years in his first spell.
It's weird. I can see the similarities between what Warrington are doing and West Tigers are doing.
The only man ever to bring a league to West Tigers.
Mm.
The only man ever to win the championship. And you just fired him off like this. He's given you a second chance and you fired him off.
It's not good. It's not good at
In
all.
favour of Benji, who was presumably wanting to work with Tim Sheens.
Yeah, because he signed up as an assistant.
Yeah.
And everything that I heard was very similar to the Dolphins situation, that Bennett was setting up the club and Wolf's going to take over in 2-3 years' time. That Tim Sheens was going to help him fix it, mentor him, and then let Benji take over, and he was going to fade out the back door.
Presumably now, every decision Benji Marshall makes, he's going to be thinking, would Tim Sheens agree with me? Or
Yeah.
He's
And
gonna
you
be
expect
tough,
you
man.
expect him to help him out, and if he rang him up and said, because they're clearly good friends and they worked together for a long time, he's not going to throw him under the bus, is he?
That's
But
what I was saying there. Keep him in the club or somewhere. Move him up to that director rugby slot.
You
keep
could just
him
move
on
him up
Benji's,
early.
yeah. Keep him in Benji's, somewhere around him. So he's,
Unless
he's got
there's
an
actually
office in the club
something-
or whatever. A bit like Wayne, he's done with Wigan, and he's kept there as a different role. So Pete's still the head coach, but Wayne is still involved with the club.
Unless there's something seriously going on behind the scenes with Tim Sheens personally that we don't know about, and I don't want to speculate. That's the only reason I could see him that would make sense if they let him go. That there's something going on that obviously it's far more important than rugby league because it's still a game. But this just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back with quicker fire predictions. Thank you. So you're going to do quick fire predictions now, guys. We're going to start off on Sunday because probably the biggest game is on Friday, and I want to leave that till the end. Leeds vs Warrington. Matty, who are you going for and why?
The Rhinos. Too much change at Warrington, too much uncertainty for me to back them. I think Leeds at home, Headingley get on make that ground feel really, really small for Warrington, I think, being right on top of you.
Who are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go Leeds. Same reason, home advantage. Obviously, why we're struggling at the minute. It'd be an interesting one though, because I think obviously all this going on with Austin, Leeds, they've had a bit of disruption as well as Wire. So I think it will be interesting. I'm going to go Leeds just.
I'm going to go Wire. New coach bounce back. 2 weeks off. Leeds. I don't think Luke Hooley can play for him because he's gone on a 2-week loan. So they're going to need another new fullback.
No, I think he can play. Is he not on dual reg?
No, he's not on dual reg. I don't think he's on dual reg. I don't think he can play though. Which will be a key point. But they've only got Caesar as a recognised half. Still missing O'Brien. Still missing, obviously, let the Austin situation go. So I'm going to go Warrington by 2 tries-ish. Now, the Leopards versus the Dragons. Matty, who are you going?
I'm going for Catalan. I just think that Lee, having only got the 17 or 18 players that they rely on every week, them all being involved last week in the cup final, the celebrations that we saw rolling on into Tuesday, I think they can probably afford to just write off this game against Catalan, and so I think that's what they'll do, and I think Catalan will win.
Lewis?
Yeah, same. I'm going to go Lee. Sorry, Catalan. Dave. Yeah, same thing I said. One of the biggest wins for me after that Challenge Cup win was when we went and beat, I think it was Castleford, wasn't it? The week after, and I think very, very rare that happens with the winners of the Challenge Cup back it up the week after in the league. And obviously Catalans, we know what form they're in at the minute, sitting top of the table. So yeah, I'm going to go Catalans, they'll be too strong.
I'm going to go Lee.
Oh,
Just because it's the first home game since they've won the Challenge Cup. I think Lee will be absolutely bouncing. You listen to Adrian Lamb when he was speaking after the final, can we sell out the ground in the last 4 home games or 3 home games, whatever it is. I think it's going to be absolutely bouncing there. I think the Challenge Cup effect might affect them the week after. I think they'll be up for this and then they'll fall off a cliff energy-wise.
Okay.
And I think they go to Hull KR away. Hull KR will be going the week after. I think that's when Hull KR will be peaking and Lee might have a dip off then.
Yeah. It's a fair point. The streets will be paved with decking and Lee when they're coming back.
Why are you sponsors then?
Paved in some decks.
Okay, next one.
There'll be
Huddersfield.
grass at the pitch anymore.
There'll
Just
be no
decking.
grass, yeah.
I'll have to play on deck.
Okay, Huddersfield versus Salford. Here you go, Matty.
Why is it always interesting when these two teams play? I think it's the Ian Watson thing, isn't it?
The Ian Watson derby.
I think I'm going to go with Ian Watson's current team to beat his former team. I'm going with Huddersfield close, with not much confidence.
Lewis?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. Salford, I'm going to go with on the premises that they've had a week off. So I think they're going to be a bit fresher than Huddersfield, who's had to play St Helens.
That's the reason I'm going to go Salford. That week off, they've all gone away.
Sunday to
time
Friday,
train.
isn't it, as well? Short turnaround for Huddersfield.
Yes, Sunday to Friday, 5
Yeah,
days,
good point, yeah.
where Salford are probably going to get around 14, 15 days. Next one, St Helens versus Hull KR. Both teams not getting a week off.
Yeah, this is
I
the only
think-
game where both teams
So I
played
said
last
that-
week.
So I said last week that St Helens will have been gutted that they didn't get this week off because I think they needed it with the injuries. But they've got lucky in a sense
Got the playing
that
okay.
they're playing Hull KR, who also made it to the final. Matty, who are you going?
I think that Saints will keep up their good home form and win this one.
Lewis?
I think Saints I'm going to back as well. I think Hull KR will be a bit drained emotionally from that loss. I think it's going to take them maybe
It's
this week
the
to get
travelling as
over
well.
it.
There's the travelling as well. That's not going to help.
I think that after a cup final to say, right, lick your wounds, we've got to get back on it next week. After a cup final, to lose it in Golden Point with a drop goal as well, I think that's going to take a lot of them emotionally and mentally. So I think Saints will win this one.
I'm going to agree with both you lads. St Helens, I think it'll be closer than what I'm expecting. But I think Saints will run away with it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Saints losing at half time
And still win.
and still win in the
Yeah.
second half. I think Hull KR will drop off on energy around the 50-60 minute mark. Okay. Probably the most anticipated game of the week. Wakefield versus Cass.
No, it definitely is. Be good if this was Thursday, selfishly.
Let's well.
So we could
I was going to
watch
say I would have loved this to be on a Thursday, so everyone in the league could have watched it. Obviously, it's on a Friday, so I'll have to watch it on the TV after. Let's just put this into context. Both teams sits on 8 points. 20 points. 22 points is the difference on the points difference. So if Wakefield win by more than 12, they'll go into 11th.
No, they win.
They'll go into.
They'll be in
They'll
11th.
be in 11th either way because
They
they'll
won
go
one
to
day.
10.
Yeah.
But that would improve the points difference, which could come into effect later on in the season. Castleford, the away team, not won in 6 games when they beat Warrington. Wakey's incredible home form that has seen them beat the likes of Leeds, Wigan, Warrington, and also Salford.
Salford.
It's at Wakefield.
Is this Castleford's first game since the departure of Andy Lass?
it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Will it be the first? So who's stepping? Is it the assistant coach who's stepping in interim? Is it until they find him?
No, Danny
they-
Ward.
Yes, they have. Sorry, I forgot that. Yeah,
I don't know if it's for the rest of the season.
Well,
and next year.
the
The interim
assistant.
is also the head coach at Batley.
Yeah,
isn't he?
he's head coach of Batley.
Right.
So he
Oh,
was
yeah, we've
going
talked about this on a
to-
previous podcast.
He was going. Obviously, they were in the final, weren't they?
So Danny Ward is This will be Danny Ward's first game in charge of
Yeah.
Castleford, will it? Oh, interesting.
So there's Wakefield's incredible home form against the new coach effect.
The new manager bounce.
Matty.
Home
Sorry for calling on you first, but who are you going for?
form. You always call me first. Home form, I think, will. I said a few weeks ago, Wakefield got all their business done early, and they got the fans back on side with their great home form. Whereas Castleford, we saw last game at home, the protests after the game where the fans refused to leave until Last was sacked. They've waited till now to bring Austin in. It all seems a bit rushed, and it seems like there's one team here who are still at the bottom, but they've got a bit of positivity
more
with the
set.
fans. So I think it's probably
There's a
going to
better
be
vibe
Wakefield
in
just
that.
because of the vibe, because they're at home. I'm going for Wakefield to win this one.
Lewis.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to go Cass for a combination. I think obviously Austin's coming in for them, new coach effect, and I think with Cass, What gets me with Cass is I think they've got, especially with Austin now as well, they've got
winners.
They've got good players. And I think if you put, like, I know we talked before, like when we talked about St George of the Wire a couple of weeks ago, if you put the two squads on paper, I know the game's not played on paper, but if you put the two squads at your cast, they've got Miller, who I think is a good one, Widdop, who we know has, been there, done it, all these are good, and now they've got Austin coming to good. That Broadbent I like, who plays from the young kids.
Paul
McShane. So I feel like they've got the players there to win, and it's a big game, and I think those players will step up. So I think they'll win the big game. So I'm going to go Cass.
So I've really struggled with this because Cass to me have that desperation because they were definitely staying up 8 weeks ago when they were 8 points clear, 6 points clear, whatever it was. There was no way they could go down because Wakey couldn't score a try. If Wakey managed to stay up, everyone says, wow, that's amazing. But if they go down after the start they had, everyone expected it. I think there's a bit more desperation for Cass, which is an added factor for them to win. But I'm still going to go Wakey. I'm still going to go Wakey. Unless Blake Austin pulls out a man of the match performance and tells Gary Etherington that's why you should have signed me on a 2-year deal. Austin might swing this game. If Austin wasn't playing, I would 100% be on Wakefield. Because Austin's playing, he could just have one of them games. Like he did against us, like he did against Saints, where he just rocks up and he just bosses. Because he can win a game by himself. He is that good.
Yeah.
He has the ability to win games by himself. Right, last one. Our favourite team to obviously talk about. Wigan vs Hull FC. Matty, I'm going to assume you're going to go Wigan.
Yeah.
What's gonna win it for Wigan?
I think that Wigan just have a little bit more star power. I believe this is probably about even in the forwards and in sort of the yards gained and things. I'd like to think we just have a bit more of a clinical edge at the Wigan strike from all parts of the field. I just think you can't have a game where you keep Bevan French and Jay Field quiet for the full 80 minutes, especially Hull have struggled with them too in the past when they both played. So I think it's probably, hopefully for me, going to be a bit more French magic against Hull.
Lewis, I'm assuming you win Wigan.
I'm back in Wigan,
Obviously. What's going to be your standout?
What's going to get us over this game is the reverse fixture. When we went to their place on a Thursday night and we lost. And if I was Matty Pete, I'd be using that in the sheds before the game as a kind of motivating factor. Saying, remember what happened last time we played and we owe these guys one, it's revenge time. They're in our kind of background now. We've had the week off, obviously, with the Challenge Cup final. I know we have still got, obviously, some injuries, especially in the forwards. We look like we might be a bit light there. But I think we've got enough to win this game.
I'm going to go Wigan, and I think it's because we're going to look to try and dominate the middle. If we can dominate the middle, which we need to do if we want to go and beat Catalans in 2 weeks' time, this is almost the perfect dry run of it. A very, very big team in the forwards in Hull. They're experienced. This is one where you've got to target and say we have to dominate that middle section to allow French and Field and Smith to get the points. And I think we're going to be right up for it to get into a big arm wrestle. Again, I'd be happy to see be 0-0 after 20 minutes. And us sticking a fight. Right, that wraps up the predictions. Any more comments from you guys?
No, been a fun one.
Been a fun one.
Nice.
Right, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap.